control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. The little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. We the people have taken over. We the people are little brother, standing by to dethrone each other, watching you and watching me. Paranoid, the lens is our weapon, desensitized in our lust for attention, democratized by our voyeur obsessions, watching you and watching me. Slaves to perfection, don't let them project you as you are. Feel your every flaw. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching
Let your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Said the deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host Dave Scott, and thank you so much for listening in to us at spacedoutradio.com and on Spreaker. As once again we come in from the frozen Canadian tundra. Literally, it was like 5 degrees today. We battle our way past the wild animals, sidestep Bigfoot, and enter Uncle Jimbo's cabin, stoke the fire, heat this place up, and broadcast you live on this Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning if you're on the East Coast. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we are broadcasting 3 hours a night, 7 days a week. Why? Well, we want to be your official one-stop shop when it comes to the supernatural, extraterrestrial, paranormal, conspiratorial, and so much more. Hey, if you like our music, go to our website, spacedoutradio.com, where you can learn all about the guitar god himself, Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Bumblefoot, formerly of Guns N' Roses. He is our official music master. If you're a friend on social media, that is great, but if you're not, you can add us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, and of course our website, which will have a new look very, very soon, is spacedoutradio.com. At this time, we welcome in our fans listening in on the SHR Media Network, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, along with our fans at Facebook's Euphoria Chronicles, Forest Moon Paranormal, and the SOR Space Travelers, as well as online at Paranormal Forum. If you're a fan of Spaced Out Radio, coming soon to our website is the Space Travelers membership, where for only $5 a month, yeah, just $5, you can win prizes, take part in private group interviews, have a special section on our website, and so much more. We are going to give you a heck of a lot more than just access to our archives. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rivulet Reiki and Readings, providing healings in person or at a distance. PurplePlates.com, helping heal your body, mind, and soul. The new Agora newspaper is the official paper of this show. And the iTunes app Spirit Storybox. It's the official ghost hunting app of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight on SOR, we bring back one of our monthly contributors to this show, Samantha Mowat, with the ET Experience. Samantha is a very talented psychic medium, one of the best I've ever met, who uses her daily guides, or her guides daily, to help her throughout her own personal experiences as well as education. Samantha has a unique history of also being a lifelong alien contactee. For her, it's happened so frequently that she's now accepted it as part of her life here on Earth. Samantha is one of those people who is just very honest about her opinions when it comes to the off-worlders. She'll tell you point blank about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the experiences. Everything's happened to her, and she can help you define why and what is happening to you. Tonight, Samantha will get into the start of experiences. How do we know if you're being taken or not? Can you defend against it? Do you have an opinion on it? We'll also try to define the purpose of this contact as well. We'll also get into a little bit of disclosure and how the public will react when it happens, if it ever does. Samantha Mowat, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. How have you been?
Hi, Dave. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me again. And that's quite the introduction.
Well, you know what? We try and spice it up a little bit, a little garlic, a little seasoning. You know, that's the way we do it around here. It's the Ukrainian background, I can say that.
Well, I like it. It adds some zest to life, so we'll totally go with it.
So last month, when you were on the show, we talked a lot about personal experiences, yours, mine, the ones we shared, the one major one we shared together. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's one of those things where I actually got a lot of reaction to that, saying, wow, you know, this lady, where did you find her? Are you surprised when you hear people talking about that? Because, I mean, now you're kind of stepping out into the forefront with us, opening up yourself to a heck of a lot more listeners here. And, you know, it's a whole different type of audience.
I agree, Dave. It is a totally different type of audience, but no, I'm not surprised. This is what I'm supposed to be doing in my life. So really, it makes sense that I'd have more people coming towards me with different points of awareness.
Samantha, for people who are just tuning in for the first time and they want to get to know you a little bit, let's refresh with your history. You've been a lifelong ET contactee.
Yes, I have.
You are someone who has been able to break down, luckily, your experiences with what you have gone through. Does the clarity of what you've gone through ever surprise you anymore? I know it's happened so often, but for a lot of people, they don't have that clear indication of what has happened.
To an extent, even me, like sometimes I do get a little bit surprised with what's happening. The main thing that can throw me off is when I have a different type of being, one that I've never encountered before, never heard about before, like that one blue being that I had taking me from a jail cell saying that you're free, you don't have to be trapped anymore. When I'm encountering something that's completely beyond even my realm of understanding, of course it takes you aback. It makes you really stop and reevaluate things. But it also makes life more exciting too, because if you think about it, wow, how amazing is it that with all the diversity in the universe that we know about, that there are things that we haven't even comprehended that are here to help us and assist us in this transition on Earth at this time.
What do you say to your critics? And every person in your position or my position always gets hit by the skeptics who sit there and say, you know what? I can understand maybe one experience, but the way you recall everything, the way you explain everything, it really doesn't sound like what you're speaking of is the truth. How do you deal with people like that?
Well, Dave, to be completely honest, when it comes to anything in life, you can choose any profession, be it construction, medicine, teaching, you name it. You're going to have people hating you, disbelieving you, and believing that what you're doing is wrong or could be done differently. The reason I'm able to recall the majority of my experiences to the extent that I do is as soon as I have a contact experience, be it an astral projection encounter, a physical encounter, a sighting, anything along those lines, my first instinct is to write down every single detail that occurred, whether it was daytime, nighttime, where I was located, what my interactions were, what my feelings were, what the being did, what it looked like, and then I draw things out. The reason why I do that is it will help keep all the information categorized. It will make it so that at a later date I'm able to determine, okay, so I'm seeing reptilians twice a month on average, or I'm seeing tans 3 to 4 times, or, oh look, I'm only seeing white beings once or twice every 6 months. It can kind of give you a better idea of how things are going to occur. Another aspect that I should mention is, yeah, I understand that I have a lot of contact, and that's fine, but you do have to take into account one thing. This is something that has happened to me to such an extent that of course I'm obsessed about it. Of course I'm going to really focus on the details of my encounters. Because if I didn't, it would probably eat away at my mind if I didn't try to analyze them and figure out, okay, why is this happening? Who else is having this? If you are having encounters and people are criticizing you, well, to be completely honest, that's not your problem. That's their problem. They are operating from a very angry place where they probably don't even know themselves. And you can't really get mad at people for having that approach. What we're experiencing is beyond their realm of understanding. And I can understand their apprehension, but I do feel their anger is unnecessary.
Do you think that anger comes out of fear, or it comes out of people just not understanding?
I believe it can come from both, but I also believe that many people that approach this topic with such anger, like when they hear about my experiences or your experiences or anyone's experiences, and their first instinct is anger and disbelief, I wonder if those people have contact that they're blocking. And I wonder if there's programming behind that to stop them from exploring it further.
Well, and that's the question that I have wondered a lot, Samantha, because there seems to be so many people in this field when it comes to the field of ufology and more so extraterrestrial contact that get so upset, almost the same way as the whole gun issue going on right now after that unfortunate massacre in Orlando, Florida just a couple of days ago. Now, I don't want to try and put two and two together to make four because they're two terribly different decisions, but I'm talking about the argument with guns in the United States, those for, those against, much like those who have had ET contact comparatively to those who have not. There always seems to be this anger, this backlash, and I think it's more fear that is going on because people don't want to accept the truth that they haven't been told everything that truly exists, not just on this planet, but in the universe as well.
I can agree with you completely. I have no idea about the Orlando thing. I'm very, well, kind of, in one sense, sad to admit it, but I don't watch the news in any way, shape, or form. I can't handle the energy that goes around it, so it's through individuals such as yourself, Dave, that I even have an idea what's going on with the outside world. But when it comes to the people having fear and anger about UFOs, do you not look at the way Hollywood is presenting this information? Of course they're going to be fearful. They're deliberately being informed of negative possibilities rather than a more objective approach. Or at least that's my perspective.
Is that good, or do you think that people are just hiding something?
Is which part good?
The fact that people are naive to this subject?
I don't think naivety is ever a good thing, and I think naivety in any subject is completely disastrous. To me, it doesn't matter. Like, if you're interested in books, great, read about books, but you also have to expand your area of knowledge. You can like books, but you should still have an awareness. Like with this gun thing that's going on in the States, for the people who are against guns or for guns, I think they have to explore the other party or the other opposing party's perspective as to why they have these belief systems. The main issue with guns is, in my opinion, lack of education. I don't necessarily see them as a good thing or a bad thing.
Samantha, one of the things that I want to get into with you is a lot of people look at you and somebody like our Keith Andrews, who I know you haven't met, but we do a show with him on the first Friday of every month, a little bit different than what we do with you. But there's a lot of people out there who think people such as yourself just shouldn't exist. And what I mean by that is the fact that they think it's absolutely impossible for someone to have as much extraterrestrial contact as you. When you look at your personal life, does anything really surprise you anymore with the way things have happened or what is going on?
No, and to be completely honest, the reason why things are happening to the extent that they are for me is the fact that I've opened up my psychic abilities, which is something I'm attempting to get everyone I encounter to explore on their own. I'm by no means special for having this. I'm by no means even different for having this much contact. The only difference between me and the normal person is I'm able to remember my contact. I'm able to see when there are beings around me because of clairvoyance. I'm able to feel their energetic presence. These beings are around the rest of you as well. It's just a matter of developing your psychic abilities to the point that you're able to sense them, interact with them, connect with them. That is the only difference. If people such as, I'm sorry, did you say his name was R. Keith Andrews?
Yeah, Keith Andrews, yeah.
My apologies. And he feels as though this degree of ET contact is impossible. Well, you got to remember.
He has it too, but there's not a lot of people who have come out who have said, point blank, I am having this happen to me. There are, because of the critics, because of the backlash that happens.
But Dave, that's the beautiful thing about the position I am in. I work as a psychic, so my job is an instant backlash anyways. What is the worst that's going to happen with this? Oh no, more people are going to think that some crazy psychic lady's having contact. There is no backlash. I work for myself. It doesn't affect me.
Have you ever met other people such as yourself who have had as many experiences as you?
Not as many, but I also approach ETs differently. Dave, do you remember how when I was over at your house, how I talked to yourself and Mrs. Spaced Out Radio about how my first reaction when I see a lot of these beings is to hug them or to say, hey, I'm so happy to see you, or things along that nature? That is not a typical contactee response, or even an experienced response, or an abductee response. So for a lot of the beings that I do connect with, they're like, oh, yay, this human's happy to interact with me. I find it more pleasant to deal with this one, rather than someone who's biting and kicking and screaming and the other things that people typically do in a contact experience.
What about for those who say that it was a prearranged arrangement before you came to this earth, that in this incarnation you signed a contract that you will be taken or that you will have multiple contacts?
I've already done those things, and I agree with them completely. I know I have contracts in place, and I'm more than okay with that.
Does anything really get to you? Does it unnerve you when it comes to this subject? And I'm not talking on the ET side. I'm talking more on the human side.
The only part that unnerves me around the human aspect of it is how most people develop their own perspective on things, and when they're not willing to look beyond their current perspective and to grow. For instance, there was this one woman that I encountered, and she was really nice to me. She invited me over to her house. We had a puppy play date because my dog was very, very small at the time. And she had said to me something along the lines of, I'm just going to give you a warning, but don't get freaked out. We have a ghost that lives here. And I had made the assumption, without even talking to my guides or anything first, of, okay, she must be comfortable. So I'm like, oh, it's okay. I work as a psychic, and I work with people as a helping with contacting, or contactees. And she asked me, well, what are contactees? So I explained to her, and I saw her energy pull around her body, and I haven't been invited back for puppy playdate, but that's okay. When people have responses like that, it makes me disheartened more than anything, that they're not willing to look beyond the realm of possibility that they are currently viewing the world in.
When you look at things like that, Samantha, where you get that reaction, do you keep people at a distance? Is it hard for you to bring people close to you?
Oh, no, not at all. I just view it as, okay, that's how that person is currently reacting to this situation. Just because she was viewing me in that light at this time, that doesn't mean 6 months, a year, 2 years that she's not going to be more comfortable with the subject. I am very honest with the people I meet about what it is I am experiencing, and I'm comfortable with it. There are 7 billion people on this planet. And if you think about it, maybe, 500 million of them are having contact to one degree or another. 500 million people is a lot of possible friends. So if the 6.5 aren't comfortable with it, then that's okay. If they ever become comfortable, then I'm more than happy to have them come into my world.
I have a question.
I'm not going to judge them.
I have a question from Sabretooth in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker for you. And he is asking, Samantha, do you feel that extraterrestrials are drawn more to you because of your psychic intuitive abilities?
Hi, Sabretooth, and yes, I do. I feel as though that's the main reason they do come to see a lot of people who are more psychically inclined, and I believe that's also part of the reason why people who experience contact to one degree or another also have a further enhancement in their own psychic abilities. One thing that you may have noticed, Sabretooth, is if you've ever done any research about this, is people who have contact tend to have metaphysical abilities, be it psychic abilities or abilities on the other side, such as flying, creating energy, moving things with their mind, things along that nature develop after they've had contact. And the more contact you've had, the more your abilities tend to develop. That's my perspective and understanding, at least.
This brings up an interesting topic because a lot of psychic people who I have had on this show, Samantha, believe that everybody is psychic. And if
Yes.
everybody is psychic, and I tend to believe that as well, and I know you do, if everybody is psychic but has lost the abilities, and your psychic ability helps you contact extraterrestrials a little bit easier, would everybody have that same degree of communication if they tuned into themselves?
I believe they would. One thing you should take into account when it comes to psychic abilities is every single child out there is psychic, and we were all at one point very psychic individuals. However, when we go to school, we tend to learn what is expected of us from a societal perspective, and we either shut down our abilities or we learn to really hide them and eventually do end up blocking them out. When it comes to a lot of psychics, is they either were not fully capable of blocking them out as a child and they just kept popping up, or they had a sudden urge to really rekindle that flame. A lot of psychics, if you talk to them one-on-one, they'll tell you, yeah, I did shut down for quite a few years, but then something in me triggered and I just had to start learning more about psychic abilities, and it acts like a snowball effect. It starts to really rapidly build upon itself. If the rest of you do really want to have contact with your angels, your guides, extraterrestrials, multidimensionals, and deceased loved ones, then yes, by all means, develop your psychic abilities. It is a very simple thing to do. It is time-consuming. I'm not going to hide that component of it. But your psychic abilities come from your pineal gland for the most part. And if, like your pineal gland, it can act like a muscle. The more you build on it, the more you detox it and actually use that intuitive ability, the stronger it grows and the bigger it gets. If that makes sense.
Yes. Where does meditation play in part of that?
Meditation is great because meditation is a tool that will teach you how to recognize your own energetic field, your ability to recognize the energetic frequencies around you, and be able to determine when new energetic presences are coming within your vicinity. Meditation is good for calming your mind, which will help you to decrease that mind chatter. Most people tend to have a constant dialogue of thought running through their head at any given time. If you're able to meditate, then you're able to not only calm down that mind chatter, but you're able to actually start to hear your guides, you'll start to hear your higher self, you'll start to hear the beings that are around you, because you will no longer be having so much, background noise is probably the best way I could describe it. Meditation it's wonderful, but it can be hard to do.
Now, I'm someone who cannot meditate, probably because I barely have enough time in the day to relax, let alone take 10, 15, 20 minutes to myself to go breathe and just breathe into myself. For the people who are taking part in this 24/7 lifestyle, much like I am, how are they supposed to open themselves out if they can't even find time for themselves?
Well, you can do the same thing that I do. For the most part, I don't have a lot of time to meditate unless it's before a session. So what I do is I kind of create a bit of a routine. So while I'm showering or while I'm falling asleep in bed, you could just start to feel your energy while you're laying there, or while you're washing your hair. You could just, like, let's say you normally have your phone on listening to YouTube, such as Spaced Out Radio, while you're showering. Instead of having that on, maybe turn to more of meditative music and just kind of calm your mind, relax your body while you're shampooing your hair and getting ready for the day in that sense. You don't necessarily have to sit down, turn off all the lights and shut off your cell phone in order to meditate. You can even meditate slightly while you're driving, although I don't recommend it for most people unless you're really accustomed to meditating.
I have a question from Eric coming in from the Space Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. Eric is wondering, Samantha, do you believe that decalcifying the pineal gland has any effect on our psychic ability?
I agree. Yes, Eric, I do think it has a very strong effect. Things such as fluoride will literally calcify your pineal gland. It will make it so your psychic abilities are more sporadic, and that is part of the reason why you'll notice a lot of people who are psychic to one degree or another, or especially they're working psychics, they will avoid things such as fluoride and things that are known to calcify the pineal gland. If you do want to detox it, the one thing I use the most is holy basil. And it may sound a little bit funny, but you can go buy some holy basil and just have it in hot water. It's going to help flush out the toxins that are around your pineal gland. Even just a teeny amount a day will really add up.
Does it also help with diet as well? Say, for instance, I notice that the more spiritual I have become, the less meat I eat. I never want to consider myself a vegetarian or a vegan because I refuse to give up bacon. That is my God-given Canadian right. But on the flip side, there's a lot of people who that I've met personally that state that the more spiritual they have become and the more contact they have become, the less meat in their diet they are actually eating, the less dairy they are putting into their system. Have you noticed that as well?
Yes, I have noticed it, but I've also noticed one thing that I need to express. You said that when they've had a lot of contact, they may cut out meat. Well, that depends on who you're contacting. If you're having a lot of contact with reptilian beings, then your need for having meat or your desire to have meat may actually increase. So that is a bit of a flip side, something that is not often talked about with the contact experience. For me, I did notice that my body went from eating meat as a child to going vegetarian when I turned 20 to when I got pregnant, I craved meat, so I ate it for about 2 years and then I went back to being vegetarian because my body just couldn't handle it. And I should mention a correlation in there. When I got pregnant, I stopped doing all forms of reading, all forms of psychic ability, anything that says worried about energy transferring over and affecting my child. But when I went back to working again with energy, with doing readings, and that energy started to flow into me again, I went back to being vegetarian. So there is a strong connection between the two.
We are talking with Samantha Mowat tonight on Spaced Out Radio, the ET Experience, with our monthly guest. She comes on the second Tuesday of every month. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. We're going to step out for our first break of the night. When we come back, we're going to find out more about what holy basil really is. I think that's what she said. Yes, holy basil. You know, I just don't know what it is. Sounds like marijuana to me. But either way, we're going to get into it right after this break.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Hi there. This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 Mediums and a Large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hey everybody, this is Patrick Webster Small, and I'm here to bring you the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night. Live at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. If you're looking for aliens and extraterrestrials, well, we've got them. Big and tall, short and small. You're bound to find what you're looking for. So join me on the Webster Phenomena right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Have you ever wondered about those weird and strange creatures people have reported throughout history? Do you wonder if those stories are real? Me too, and that's why I started Cryptopia.us. Hey, this is Rob Morphy, crypto historian. Join me once a month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will get into the odd and bizarre reports, from the Dover Demon to hairy hominids and everything in between. I will break down what people like you and me are seeing at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost?
Look no further than Spaced Out Radio.
SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click on to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on radio
or our website, including social media.
From commercial spots to banners, we have it all.
Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4 Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
Want to connect with us online? Find us on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show, on Twitter, @Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, on YouTube, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. All right, space travelers, here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Appreciate you tuning in. If you're listening in on the SHR Media Network, if you're tuning in on Paranormal Forum, on the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, as well as on Facebook at Euphoria Chronicles, Forest Moon Paranormal, as well as our flagship SOR Space Travelers. Good to have you with us tonight. How are you all doing? Tomorrow night on the show, we're stepping back into the cryptid world. Rob Morphy will join us. We are going to be talking ancient cryptids from around North America and the world. That's what we do with Rob the third Wednesday of every month. A reminder to you, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. That's where we put our archives. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Tonight, monthly contributor of the ET Experience, Samantha Mowat, is with us. She's a highly intelligent psychic medium, as well as a lifelong ET experiencer. And we bring Samantha back in. Her website is samanthamowat.ca if you ever want to get a hold of her. Samantha, it's always good to be with you.
Hi, Dave. And don't forget, I just started a YouTube channel, so look up Samantha Mowat to find out about how to develop your own psychic abilities, what the differences in psychic abilities are, and soon I'll be having my contact experiences on there. So
That's
yay,
exciting.
how fun.
That is very exciting. You know, the YouTube thing, the one thing that I've noticed about it is the people who are really into it really don't post. It's the people who just want to be cranky about absolutely everything that sometimes bring out the vile and vitriol. I'm thinking of all the V words I can think of here in regards to what is actually happening. I mean, it's amazing how difficult YouTube can be, and all you're like is, damn it, all I want to do is post a video of what I have to say. You know
about something.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. But anyways, I'm glad you do, because anytime you can get your message out, I love it, because I know you personally, and I know your experiences and what you've gone through, and it's just one of those things that I think needs to get out there. We're going to start off with a couple of questions from our audience. This is Sabretooth again, and Sabretooth is asking from the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, Samantha, what was your initial reaction when your abilities first manifested themselves?
To be honest, I was ridiculously excited. As an adult, starting to have a clear ability to understand, yay, I'm talking to my guides, yay, I'm able to talk with these beings. I thought it was pretty much the coolest thing ever, and I know I really sound like an excited child when I say stuff like that, but think of it this way. When you're a kid, you don't know that what you're experiencing is connecting with other realms, other dimensions, other vibrational frequencies. But as an adult, knowing that we're helping to bridge the one world to another world and have almost like an interdimensional communication with another being, that's pretty exciting to me. That is one of the most, amazingly fun things you could possibly do.
And he has a follow-up question. Have you ever met anyone with telekinetic abilities? And if so, how powerful were their abilities?
Offhand, none that I can think of. Sorry, Sabretooth. Although, I'd love to meet someone with that, so I'm going to ask the universe to bring that in.
But I have seen you, personally, telepathically communicate with an extraterrestrial.
That's fine. I don't consider telepathy to be telekinetic. I thought telekinetic was more along bending spoons, things of that nature.
Well, let's talk about telepathy here for a moment.
Yeah.
Because when you and I had our experience together, I was amazed that the beings that we saw at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, blue sky, not a cloud in the sky, not an airplane in the sky, when we saw those beings, the way that you easily were able to translate their message and tell me about it, that they wanted us to come over, they wanted to introduce themselves, they wanted to say hello, but they were concerned about my health. Does that normally happen for you?
Yeah, it's quite easy. We all experience telepathy even on a day-to-day basis, and I'd like for you and your audience to take this into account. When you're talking to your loved ones and you have an instant knowing before the person even says something about, let's say you're talking to them and you're asking how their day is, before they even say anything, you may have that knowing of, oh, they had a good day, or oh, they had a bad day. You can not only feel it, but you can have the words coming into your mind. You can have the impressions coming. That is all you reading energy. Telepathy is just clairaudience that is a little more developed. When you are communicating with these beings, it's easier because you're not just doing it with another human. With humans, we're all slightly blocked on a telepathic level because we don't have our pineal glands decalcified to the extent that would allow for communication on a telepathic level only to be as developed as it used to be. Our pineal glands have shrunk in the last several thousand years compared to what they were prior to that. There are so many different attributes, and then I'm sorry to just kind of ramble for a minute, but these beings, their primary mode of communication is telepathy. So the ease of communicating with them, it's vastly easier than communication between one another. And yet we're all communicating on a telepathic nature with one another in our day-to-day lives. And the more we acknowledge it, the easier it gets, like everything else. I'm not sure if I answered your question, but...
Well, you mentioned that it is easy to do, but for a lot of us, we have troubles trying to find that message that is coming into our brain because we're hit with everything. We're hit with electromagnetic waves, radio waves, just daily thoughts that are rambling through our minds. You know, throw in left-handedness and, man, you're way out to lunch like I am. But how do you focus in on what the message is?
Well, for me, I don't really think about it. You have to be careful not to overanalyze what it is you're receiving. There is a certain degree of trust in receiving this information and trusting that what you're receiving is accurate. When you're talking to these beings on a telepathic level, do you know when you're thinking about someone, how you get the feeling of them, how you sense their vibration, especially if someone's talking about you, how they pop into your mind? Well, when you're talking to these beings, you're not only talking to them on a telepathic level, but you're feeling their vibrational frequency going from their body in towards yours. And it doesn't matter if you're 200 feet like you and I were, Dave, towards them, or if you're 2 feet in front of them, or if they're up on craft in space around their home planet and we're here talking. It really doesn't matter because the vibrational frequency is what you recognize, and that is what allows for you to really know that is this being talking to me. With telepathy, oh God, how can I explain this in an easy way? Let me think about that for a second.
Sure.
There are a lot of exercises you can learn how to do in order to further develop your own telepathic abilities. One thing I'd like to mention is for any of your listeners, if they have children, you've all had moments where you could literally read what was going through your child's mind, and you call them out on it, and they're like, get out of my head, stop reading my mind. Does that make sense to you?
It does. It totally makes sense.
That's telepathy. Whether you're aware of it or not, whether you've categorized it as that or not, that is telepathy. And we are all having moments of that type of experience, and the more you come to recognize it, the easier it gets because you don't have that block, that stigma of I can't do it placed around that ability.
I want to get into a question from Eric in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. But before I do, I want to tell you what happened the other night. We were testing out pendulums. I had mine going. He had his going, and he's about 3,000 miles away, 4,000 miles away from us. We're West Coast, he's East Coast. And we were doing it on Skype. So my camera was showing my pendulum, his camera was showing his pendulum. And I had one of my guides, a guide named Jordan, who I use through the pendulum working it. And his pendulum's going, and I said, Jordan, can you stop Eric's pendulum, please? And be damned if his pendulum didn't stop. And the look on his face, his eyes must have went the size of giant chocolate chip cookies, right? Because he was like blown away. He's like, I can't believe this is happening right now. But it was an interesting night. So Erin's question to you is, how can a person connect and identify their guides?
Okay, so Eric, it's a very simple process. What we could do is there's a couple different things. If you have time, like let's say even just 10 minutes put aside from your day, just sit down, and what you're going to do is you're going to feel your own energy. And if you've never talked to them before, this is probably your best bet. So sit in a chair when no one else is around you and just kind of feel, okay, where am I holding tension in my body? What does this room feel like? I can feel the hum of the refrigerator. I can feel a gentle breeze going through the house because there's a cold draft going. And once you've kind of identified that, you can either say out loud or in your head, I'd like to meet my primary guide. And the reason why you ask to meet your primary guide is we tend to have one guide that is more in charge in assisting us throughout our incarnation. And the reason why you ask to meet them is they'll tend to come into your energetic field or energetic presence at that time. And when they do that, you'll start to feel a vibrational change. You might feel a tingling, you might feel something warm, you may feel something like a pressure on the top of your head, things of that nature. Now, the reason why I bring up this part is if you want to communicate with your guides, the first step is really clairsentience. So you want to be able to feel their vibrational frequency. And once you feel their frequency, you can start to recognize it throughout your day as you're going about your daily life. Most people have a block the first time they meet their guides about learning their name, seeing what they look like, things of that nature. So feeling for some reason your clairsentience tends to be less intimidating for people. If you want to talk to your guides and really move forward with that, then the next thing you could do is once you are aware of, okay, this is my frequency, this is my guide's frequency, you can do something as very simple as, hey, what's your name? And now the real trick with this is if you don't have your clairaudience developed, you have to really trust the first thing that comes into your mind. And it could be something like how you have a guide named Jordan, Dave, or it could be something very far out there like moon, or you might have something that doesn't really make sense to you, in which case you'd be like, okay, well, I didn't quite catch that. Can I call you whatever, Steve? They will take on any name that you give them. Now, if you want to communicate with them, there's a couple different ways. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, nothing. I'm just listening. I had to hit my cough button.
Okay, that's fine. So when you're trying to connect with them, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can either, if you're more of a visual person, clairvoyance will end up having images come into your mind. If you're more auditory, where you're very attentive to sounds, then your clairaudience is more where you'll hear your messages from them. But if you're like a lot of people and you've kind of got a block around the whole area, then you could use tools such as pendulums or oracle cards, tarot cards, things of that nature, and they do work. But if you're good at manipulating energy, then you can pull cards out on your own and can mix up the messages. Like, Dave, a pendulum doesn't work for me because my energy, it's like if I really want an answer, then my guides won't even be able to control the pendulum because I'll have it going the direction I want, if that makes any sense. I'm sorry, can you please restate his question because I feel like I've gone off on a tangent again.
Well, just how you get in touch with your guides if you've never had the ability to do so before.
Okay. Quickest and simplest way is if you could try automatic writing, and that's just where you just sit down either at the computer or with a pen and paper in hand and just write all the information that comes to mind. Like for me, when I'm doing a session or before a session, I'll write down What does this person need to know about their career? And you don't critique what comes to you, whether it's through your automatic writing or even just the information you're receiving into your mind. You just write it all down. And it doesn't have to make sense to you in that moment, because it might not make sense until you've written down everything and you can look at it as a whole piece, if that makes any sense.
All right, we got to find out this holy basil. What the Sam hell is holy basil?
Holy basil is actually what's known as tulsi leaf powder. And tulsi leaf is a herb that grows in India. And what it does is it's amazing for decalcifying the pineal gland. It helps to remove toxins out of the body. It can be used for taking fluoride out of the water, which is actually something they do in poorer countries around India and Thailand, areas like that, because they're also aware of fluoridation being a problem for their pineal gland, and they're quite often, as a culture, trying to move forward spiritually. So what my holy basil is I've got just a small package of tulsi leaf powder, and its sub-name is holy basil. You take a little teaspoon of it, you mix it with hot water and a little bit of honey, and you just drink it. And it will remove the fluoridation around your pineal gland.
And it works.
It does. And it tastes great, which is a bonus.
I have a question from Trippin in the Space Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. Mm-hmm. Samantha, for those of us that sit outside nightly and have never seen a UFO, which direction is the best direction to look for better chances of seeing one?
Well, to be very honest, and probably a bad joke, up. Okay, sorry, really bad joke. If you want to see a UFO, my best advice for you is go camping. Get out of the city. Get out of the busier areas, because it is more... They have to really coordinate things in a very specific level if they're going to be appearing to you in a city, because then they've got to take into account flight paths, they got to take into account who's viewing what direction, who's going to be affected by this. But if you go camping and you set your energetic intention, you could tell them even 3 days beforehand, I'm going camping, and then send the knowing in your heart and in your mind where you plan on going camping. This is where I'm going to be. I would like to see you. And every day for just 2 or 3 minutes, be like, this is where I'm going to be. This is where I'm going to be. I would like to see you. And if you really maintain that vibration of, I'm wanting to see you, I'm not going to be afraid, I'm excited to see you, that is the best way in which to do it. You can't say north or south or east or west, because it doesn't work in that way. You can see craft in any direction. But the most common areas that I've tend to notice craft when they're flying is I've noticed them when I'm in heavily wooded areas. I've noticed them when I'm walking along logging roads, if I'm walking my dog in that area, or if I'm driving down a highway, areas that are typically out of town. I also find it easier to see craft in places like Vancouver Island, where there's not as big of a population, versus places like Vancouver. So that's more my experience around it.
Okay, Trippin follows that up by saying, I can see satellites, so is that a dark enough area?
I would say so. Craft, when it comes in, it can be quite big and it can be quite bright depending upon what type of craft it is that's flying. You may want to set... Do you have a specific group you want to meet? Because if you actually focus on the energetic vibration of that group, really something of a higher vibration, then they can come in easier, rather than just saying the intention out there for absolutely anyone. The last thing you want is to have malevolent beings of a sort coming in to see you.
Right. Lynn has a question for you in Paranormal Forum. Samantha, do you think the ETs will help us with the Earth, or with the crises here on Earth, like weather and radiation leaks?
I believe so, yes. The benevolent ones undoubtedly will, if they are given the appropriate amount of approval by people. If we are able to reach that tipping point where we have like 50% or even 40% of society wanting for them to intervene, then yes, they are able to do things on a grander scale. However, if the majority of us are too afraid to have them anywhere near them, or to have us anywhere near them, then no, of course the good ones aren't going to want to intervene, because they're going to want to respect our privacy. Mm-hmm. That is a concern for them. I
want to follow up something with Trippin's question about the satellites. The one thing that I noticed when I started spending a lot of time outside was when you see the satellites, you see their pattern. You know, they're flying straight. Their light never changes from the reflection of the sun, or rarely does until they get to a point in the atmosphere where you just lose sight of them. But the one thing that I noticed was all of a sudden I started seeing what I thought were satellites moving at a very faster rate of speed. Have you noticed that as well, Samantha, that all of a sudden you start to learn how fast the satellites actually travel, and you're like, okay, that's a satellite, that one makes sense, but there always seems to be a satellite that is going double the triple the speed, you know, and all of a sudden...
Or half the speed.
Or half the speed, and all of a sudden, their light maybe flares up, or maybe they start a weird sort of strobe. And that's what I started looking for, because I had that same question as Trippin about that in regards to the speed. So that's something to keep an eye on, isn't it, Samantha?
I agree completely. And Trippin, I do have a suggestion for you. When my sister came back from Thailand, she brought me back one of those wonderful little lasers. And when I was out in the middle of the woods and I knew I was not in a flight path or anything like that, I would just play with my laser and send it up at the sky a few times if I thought it was a possible satellite or if I wasn't sure if it was craft. And quite often if you play with it like, let's say, beep, 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 then it will repeat the pattern back to you. And you can also send a telepathic message of, are you craft? Hi, I'm right here. Are you craft? And if it is, quite often it'll either change direction or change speed or flash you, things of that nature. It's actually quite interesting because sometimes they'll even do 90-degree turns. You're like, okay, now I definitely know that one's craft. And it does make life a bit funner when you have that laser to play with and really move it along to do patterns in the sky, because sometimes they will even do the pattern if you do a pattern. So that's my experience, at least.
A follow-up question from Gail in the SOR Space Travelers to what Lynn had asked earlier. Do you think the extraterrestrials are concerned or will do anything to assist with the nuclear mess of Fukushima?
I believe they're quite concerned. They're quite concerned about a lot of the contactees' health, seeing as many of us go through medical examinations to see what degree our bodies are polluted and do healing procedures on us, be it on an energetic level, healing with vibration, healing with light, doing physical surgeries, things of that extent. So yes, I believe they are very concerned about the health of us. But when it comes to cleanup, from what they've shown me, they do want to take care of it, but they just don't have the permission to intervene at this time.
Would they need some sort of earthly permission to do that?
Well, of course, we are in a free will universe.
Well, I think for a lot of people who may not be in the know, Samantha, that sounds like a very vague answer. You know, because if they cared about this planet, why wouldn't they just say, boys and girls, you're screwing up real bad here. It's time for us to clean this up.
Because it's not necessarily us screwing up. It's those that are in charge of us, those that are occupying this planet. It's not the humans that are messing it up, and I'm not trying to go into conspiratorial aspects of that. For me, it is a very plain and simple fact that it is not humans ruling this planet. And that is something that has been brought up time and time again in my encounters.
Eric wants to know in the SOR Space Travelers, when you're calling in UFOs, what do you think about the idea of shooting a bright flashlight or a laser at them to try and draw their attention?
I do it frequently. I play with my little green laser when I'm outside quite often until its battery died, at least. When I was in Hawaii and we were on top of Mauna Kea, that's what we were doing out there. We were just playing with the laser and seeing what kind of craft we got the attention of, and we had several over the course of 2 nights that made themselves known. They don't seem to mind it.
So how do you tell if one is reacting to you? What are you looking for if you have your laser pointed up in the sky?
So let's say I'm looking up at the sky and I see something, and at first I'm like, okay, there's movement. Okay, that's definitely way too fast to be a satellite. In which case you could take your laser and you can aim it at the thing that's moving across the sky, and you can hit it once or twice or 3 times, and you want to watch it. Does it change direction? Does it change speed? If you do a pattern, does it do the pattern back? Sometimes when you focus your laser at these things, they'll stop completely, which I've never seen a satellite stop in the night sky and just kind of hang out there for 10 minutes. But we've seen that happen before. things along that nature are what you want to look for.
But for a lot of people, Samantha, they will say, well, that's you. You're already connected. I am not. So how do I know I'm going to get that same reaction? Because I've been out 2, 3, 4 nights in a row and nothing has happened.
If I may be very bold and very honest, sometimes it's just not a good time for craft to be coming out, depending upon what is going on in the world. In order for them to make themselves visible to us, you do have to take into account that there's a massive amount of planning that goes on in order for them to come visit you in person or to make craft visible, because we do have the net that is around Earth. So when craft does show itself in the atmosphere, it does send out a vibration, a ripple that can make it so that they are suddenly now being watched, or others are aware of their presence. That is part of the reason we have chemtrails.
And that makes a lot of sense. We are talking with Samantha Mowat tonight on Spaced Out Radio. She is our monthly guest, the second Tuesday of the month, with the ET Experience. Samantha's website is Samantha Mowat, MOWAT.ca, if you want to check her out. Get a reading from her, too, because she's damn good. I recommend that from having a few with her. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back for hour number 2 next.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio on the Spreaker.com network.
Do you believe you've been in contact with extraterrestrials? Have you seen the Greys, the Mantis, or the Reptilians? I am Samantha Mowat, and on the second Tuesday of each month, you can listen and learn from my experiences with off-worlders on Spaced Out Radio's The ET Experience. With host Dave Scott, we'll sit down and chat about what's going on with our friends from other worlds. We'll also try to answer your questions, so please tune in on the second Tuesday of the month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners, for only $5 a month you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. on Spaced Out Radio. And we give it up to you guys, all the listeners, and the live listeners usually get something special and hang out in the chat room. And we love to have you. So we'll see you every Saturday night at 8 p.m. You know where.
If you're a fan of social media, you can follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel, where our archives are stored, is Spaced Out Radio Show. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Nice. SOR Space Travelers, if you're wondering what the password is tonight, Bill Cardwell has set the password at metaphysical. Yes, metaphysical is tonight's SOR password, courtesy of Bill Cardwell. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're listening in on the SHR Media Network, over on Paranormal Forum, you guys are having way too much fun over there. The Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker and on Facebook at Forest Moon Paranormal, UFOria Chronicles. You can sign up for both of those groups, as well as the SOR Space Travelers, our flagship chat room for this show. Tomorrow night on the show, Rob Morphy joins us. The crypto historian will be explaining a few weird sightings that have happened over the history of cryptids. We don't get into Bigfoot. We don't get into aliens. We don't get into anything. Just weird stories from the crypto historian himself. Reminder to you, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. It'll have a brand new look very, very soon. Samantha Mowat is our guest tonight. Her website is samanthamowat.ca. She is one of the most talented psychic mediums that I know. She's also a lifelong ET contactee. She joins us the second Tuesday of every month in what we call the ET Experience. Samantha, thank you so much for being with us.
And thank you so much for having me, Dave.
I always have so much fun when you are here with us because, you know, as my audience gets to know you and gets to understand you a little bit more, I think it's a lot of fun because a lot of people are like, you know, this girl sounds so sweet. How can she be having all of these contact experiences? These are the comments I read. But this is a daily thing for you. This is, you wake up in the morning and you have no idea what's going to happen, if you're going to have contact, if you're going to be taken, who's going to be popping around, who's going to be flying up in the skies. It's a daily, I don't want to call it a challenge, but it's a daily adventure for you.
Well, that's the number one reason why people ask me how I am. I say entertained, because I do find life very entertaining, if nothing else.
Let's get to a few more questions from our audience here, if you don't mind. We are going to get to Trippins again. He's saying, and he asked before, and if you're just tuning in, Trippin in the Space Out Radio chat room on Spreaker was asking earlier about the difference on how to find a UFO in the sky. He says he sees satellites, but he wasn't sure what else. So he's asking a different question, though. Mm-hmm. He has had a lot of experience with shadow people, 5 to 6 foot tall ones. Do shadow people have any connection to extraterrestrials?
They can, but typically when it comes to shadow beings, they're operating on a different vibrational frequency than most of the extraterrestrials that are in contact with people on Earth. In the Middle Eastern culture, shadow people are referred to as djinn, which is pretty much the Western word for it is genie. A lot of people, depending upon if they're having, because you're having shadow experiences, I would be curious to find out whether you had a contract with these shadow beings on either this life or in a previous incarnation. I haven't seen them that many times. I've probably seen them 3 or 4. But when I've seen them, typically they haven't been fond of me, so I know that I'm not meant to work with them. I think I've somehow just popped into their frequency when I've been astral traveling and things of that nature. Trippin, when you've encountered these beings, what has occurred?
Well, we'll have to get to that. I'll bring that up when he types it out. We'll go to another question while we're waiting for that. This comes from Sabretooth.
Mm-hmm.
Samantha, what is the extent of your communications with extraterrestrials? What kind of knowledge have you gained from them?
When it comes to my premise and understanding of healing, of energy work, of psychic abilities, they're the ones who have taught me. Pleiadians are the ones who've taught me how to manipulate energy, how to read energy, how to see energy. When I was younger, I used to go on to craft at night when I was asleep, and they would teach me the different ways in which energy can be played with, can be manipulated, can be really perceived. Now, when it comes to more of my understanding of healing, I've gotten it from those tan beings that we've encountered, Dave. They're more the ones who've showed me the crystal beds, and sometimes they do work with grays, but not always. Things along that nature. Same with operating with light and sound frequencies for healing rather than more the traditional aspect of external sources, things like medicine to heal. When it comes to what I've learned from ETs, it depends on which ones you mean. Because when it comes to soul lessons, I've learned quite a bit from beings like Mantis and Reptilian. I've learned that the Mantis are incredible healers, and that I've learned from many of my experiences that different groups work together. I've seen Mantis beings working with gray beings, working with tan beings, and this has been during some of my healing encounters where I've been finding myself either not necessarily on a table, but in a room where they're doing scans on me or on other people. Things along that nature, things they've taught me more around the world or regarding the world is, what's a good way to put it? They've shown me that they're always on Earth, because sometimes they'll show me, hey, this group is located on this place or at this place at this time, things of that nature. When it comes to the part that's really confusing for me about some of it is when they help me to remember past lives where I've seen them, where it's like where you see extraterrestrials hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago in a past life. Things like that, them allowing me to remember things of that nature was really mind-boggling to me, things that were more confusing, especially when they've been so kind as to help me remember some of my past lives where you see yourself in a white extraterrestrial body like what Danny is, where it's more that Arcturian style, or when you see yourself in a different body as a Pleiadian or as things of that nature. Then you can start to kind of put two and two together of, oh, okay, it's more of a family connection. That's why we're coming to see you. The main thing that actually has probably created the most joy for me and the most frustration is this one tan being that I encountered who showed me that some of the extraterrestrials, if they have a slight human component to them, depending upon their DNA structure or their soul's heritage, their soul's origin, may like human things, because this one extraterrestrial told me she was looking for an oak desk, and coincidentally I found one 3 months later, and I've sent her the message many times of, hey, if you want it, just leave the computer and the salt lamp on the floor, go ahead and take the desk. So, I mean, there's things like that happen too.
Couple questions coming in for you now because they are firing up. The audience is red hot right now. Let's get to a pair of questions from Jay Adams in Paranormal Forum. You've described Pleiadians, Samantha. What is their primary focus with humans? She has heard that they are quite elevated beings, and what do they look like?
Okay, let's start with the first part. You ask me the first question again, break them down one question at a time, and I will do my best to answer.
All right. What is the primary focus of Pleiadians with humans?
The primary focus of Pleiadians with the Earth humans is, you have to remember, they are our cousins. All of the humans tend to originate from the Lyra star system, where that branch went, the Pleiades, some of them came out towards this galaxy, and they are attempting to help heal their cousins, to help bring their cousins back to being a higher vibrational frequency as we were prior to our, let's say, realignment is probably a nice way to put it. So when it comes to a lot of the Pleiadians, you have to remember that even within the Pleiadians, you have factions and sub-factions. Some are good Pleiadians, some are bad Pleiadians, and each individual has their own objective. The majority of them wish to help the human race with going back towards being a higher vibration. They're operating on more the 5th, 6th vibrational density, whereas we are currently occupying somewhere around 3, 4, depending upon the vibration of the person. Those who are more they're asleep, let's say watching television, watching football, eating a really horrible diet, not caring about the planet, not recycling, all that are operating more in your third vibrational density, versus those who are more aware of the vibrational nature of reality, like your listeners are, those who are aware that there's something more than what just meets the eye. They are operating on more of the fourth vibrational reality, and that is why those people are able to have more encounters, because not only are they more connected, but they recognize more of, how can I explain it? The vibration those people are emitting, extraterrestrials are more inclined to connect with. And when it comes to Pleiadians, for the most part, they are interacting with those of their own kind that have originated from the Pleiades, that are incarnated on Earth due to either volunteer incarnation or those who have been coincidentally here by some other devices, like me. Where, well, to be very honest with you, our ship got taken down, we landed, or well, we didn't really land, we more so crashed, and I've been stuck here ever since. That is part of why they're interacting with me.
Okay, the second part of the question is, let me just scroll up for a second here. What do they look like?
They look very similar to us. They don't have the same imperfections we do. Their faces are definitely more symmetrical. With humans, you'll notice that it's almost like our left side and our right side look slightly different, whether it's our eyebrows can look a little bit different, or one eye may open more than the other, things of that nature. They don't have the skin imperfections like the freckles, the moles, the discoloration. They don't have the same variety in hair texture and variety that we do. Like, you know how humans here on Earth will have curly hair, straight hair, wavy hair, things of that nature. From what I've noticed, I've only ever seen straight to a very slight wave with Pleiadians. In the Pleiadians I've met redhead ones, I've met blonde ones. I don't recall seeing any brunette ones, but that's okay. That doesn't mean they're not out there. That just means I haven't had conscious recollection with them, or I haven't met them. But I'm only one person. There are thousands of people on this planet that are having connections with Pleiadians. For the most part, when I've seen them on their home world, they're not wearing the suit that covers their feet, that goes up. That's the one-piece suit that goes up to their wrist, that goes up to their neck. When I've seen them at home, they're typically wearing more of like not necessarily a robe type outfit, but it's more loose and flowing and comfortable. I've never seen them in pants on their home world, if that makes any sense. Typically the females will have, longer hair. The ones that I've typically encountered will have hair that is around bra length to a little bit above bra length, almost always shoulder length and below. I haven't seen any with short hair. Even the men tend to have longer hair. They'll have it around shoulder length typically. And this is in part from what they've explained to me due to the connection of our hair being almost like a transmitter. It can pick up on the vibrational frequencies around us and act as an extension of our intuition, an extension of our ability to perceive frequencies.
Follow-up question from Jay Adams. Have you ever heard the music that is being sold about, it's basically called Pleiadian music that you can buy. Have you ever heard that?
No, but I'm typing in so that I can look it up after we're done.
Okay. How tall are they?
Taller than me, about, I'd say 6.5, 7 feet. Even as a small child, I was very confused. My father told me I'd be lucky to hit 5 feet tall, because I thought for absolute certain I'd be about 7 feet tall.
Well, that's nice. And last question, and you are petite. I will say that. You are very petite. I will say this. Jay Adams is just following up on the questions here. Do they live in houses? What is their environment like on their planet?
Okay, that's fine. When it comes to their houses, they're different than ours. The ones that I've seen are more crystalline in structure. They fit in perfectly with their environment. They do not actually have an environmental imprint around them, so they're not actually disturbing the environment. It's like the environment grows around the home to really fit in there. I've never seen locks on their doors. I've never seen unnecessary clutter like we have here. Their homes are very harmonious when it comes to nature. Their environment, when I've been there, it's not tropical, but it's, how can I explain it? There is a lot more water and a lot more forest. I've never seen roads there. I've never seen things like telephone poles. When it comes to stuff like that, it's totally different than our world, because our world is so cluttered, and everywhere you look there's visual, almost like disruptions, but they don't have that. Even doors, they're different there. The buildings tend to, it's almost like they're made of their planet itself. Like Tegeta, it looks like the planet, the homes are made out of Tegeta rock or Tegeta crystal, something along that vibrational frequency. It's like their home is literally an extension of their planet, and they're further apart. They all have acreages. Think of like 7 acres, 30 acres, things of that size. And you don't really see your neighbors, and you don't have fences, and you don't have things of that nature, but you are able to still, you're more than welcome to go visit your neighbor, and people only have what they need. They only take what they need. They don't have that same concept of being greedy that we have. They don't have that same, you know how within almost all of us we have that mentality of, I need to have a little bit extra here in case something goes wrong. I need to have the extra food, the extra water. They don't have that point of awareness. They don't have that fear, so they don't have excessive food in their basement in case there's an earthquake or things of that nature, because their planet doesn't have the same disconnect from them. If something like that was going to occur, then they'd be able to almost like just leave their planet temporarily while something occurred, and they'd be completely safe and not have to worry about it. They look similar to us, and I do have to agree with that one gentleman you had on a while ago, Dave, who was a Pleiadian, and he had mentioned that human feet don't make sense. I've always hated feet. Our feet creep me out, and they have for years. And when he said that, it actually made sense to me that it's almost like having another set of hands down there rather than feet, because that does resonate and it does make sense. And I never think in my encounters to look at someone's feet.
Do they have pets there? Dogs, cats, emus?
Yes, but not the same animals. You're not likely to ever see a Pleiadian with a cat.
All right. We'll get to Eric's question in the SOR Space Travelers chat room right now. Samantha, what do you know about the space fence that the government has apparently created to identify inbound craft?
I know nothing about that. I know we have one, but do I have any specific details regarding? No, I apologize, but I do not. I've never even thought to ask them about it.
Have you ever talked to a being about how they are tracked when they enter our atmosphere?
No. Typically when I end up seeing them, we end up just going through whatever it is that is determined for us to go through in that experience. In the last year or two, it's been mostly regarding healing.
Marla in the SOR Space Travelers room would like to know, do extraterrestrials pick certain people to contact? And if they do, why?
Yes, to an extent they do, because they'll choose people whose vibrational frequency typically is somewhat aligned with theirs. Think of it this way, Marla. You've got two things that go on. You've got your genetic heritage of your body, which can determine who's in contact with you, depending upon whether a certain race of extraterrestrial is following that genetic lineage from generation to generation. Or you can also have extraterrestrials tracing someone, or tracking someone, not tracing, based upon the soul that is embedded within that body. When it comes to stuff like the Pleiadians, they are going to track their soul family because they want to keep their soul family safe. They want to help keep them healthy. They want to help bring them back to vibration so they can return home. When it comes to beings such as Greys, Tans, things of that nature, sometimes some of these beings can live for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So to them, they can track someone over the course of not only many lifetimes, but they can track them, track their family. And depending upon the vibration that the body is emitting, the body has to have a compatible vibration for the soul that's inhabiting the body. So it is a bit of a tricky component, and I'm still trying to get a better awareness, but that is what they have explained to me regarding that.
You mentioned Tans a couple of times here.
Yeah.
We saw a pair of Tan beings when we had our experience together.
Yes.
Where were they from? Who are they? I get asked that question a lot, and my answer is I don't know. So I'm going to ask you, the expert, who the hell were they?
I'm definitely not an expert, but I speculate Andromedan. I'm not certain, and I never think to ask someone what it is they are. I know this sounds silly, and the rest of you are probably like, how do you not think to ask, what's your name, where are you from, what are you doing here? Well, my mind doesn't go to that thought pattern when I see beings. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. And that is something that has driven me nuts afterwards a few times, going, oh, I should have asked them where they're from, or oh, I should have asked for a name.
Like, do you think it's like Carl from Moonbeam 7 or something along those lines? Or?
Probably not Carl from Moonbeam 7, but the tans that you and I saw, Dave, I recall seeing them several times because they're in the same soul origin, the same grouping as my little brown guy. And they do feel more Andromedan. Judging by everything I've researched when it comes to Andromedan, trying to pinpoint, okay, well, who are these guys? Because they're obviously not grays or an offshoot of gray. But they do have a slightly similar appearance, but they don't have the same vibrational frequency, the same vibrational energy being emitted by them. And that's what made me start to realize that, okay, they can't be grays or an offshoot of gray.
Either way, I'm still trying to resonate on that one. Eric in the Space Out Radio chat room on Spreaker has a question. Are the mantids truly insectoid, or is that just their appearance?
I would say they are truly insectoid based upon what they've shown me. I've only seen a couple different varieties of mantid. I've seen ones that are slightly tan, some of them that are green, and I have seen one that was black. The ones that were tan were more medically oriented. They were doing just checking up on people, seeing how their vitals were, and seeing what kind of pollutants their bodies have been recently exposed to, things of that nature. The green one was more that one that I had encountered who was she was kind of presenting herself as being another woman when she didn't have the same energetic signature as a human woman, and that's how I knew she wasn't. But that's okay. She was more green, but the black one wasn't as pleasant. But yes, all very insectoid looking.
Nick has a question in the Space Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. Is there anything we can do subconsciously or deliberately that would block us from experiencing similar contact that you have had frequently, Samantha?
Well, of course. There's a couple different things you can do. The one thing that I found that was the best for keeping pretty much every single type of being away is you can implement a golden Merkaba around your body and around your house. The reason I say doing both is if you put it around your auric field, it will help keep not only your body, but your etheric body, your astral body, which separates from you when you go to sleep, away from almost all vibrational entities, which as a result can make it so you're not dreaming, but that's entirely up to you. If you like, go onto Google and look at what a Merkaba is. A Merkaba is roughly two triangles that are facing in opposite directions, one pointing up towards the sky with the base at the ground, and the other pointing down towards the center of the earth with its base interconnected to the other one. And what I did around my property, because I didn't want to have anything coming onto my property, was I made the top triangle spinning clockwise and the bottom triangle spinning counterclockwise. And it creates a vibrational frequency that is very hard to penetrate. And the reason I said gold is one of the highest vibrational colors that you're able to access when it comes to the dimensions on this plane. So vibrations 1 to 12, without us going to the next vibrational plane above that.
I just had some confirmation from Audrey, a resident Pleiadian who listens to this show, and he said, yes, they are Andromedans on what you and I saw.
Oh, hi, Audrey.
Joe has a question in the SOR Space Travelers, and his questions are always interesting. Is it dangerous to spend the night with someone who is visited every night?
No, not necessarily. Depends on who they're visited by. If this person has an entity that is attached onto their auric field, which is malevolent in nature, then yes, it is not in your best interest to get into a relationship with someone who has a parasite, so to speak, attached to them.
I mentioned Joe because recently he has had a lot of owls appearing around him, and my booking coordinator, Corey, along with a lady involved with one of the paranormal groups that follows us, Kelly, and Joe, have all tried a little experiment that I kind of put them up to see if they had been taken or not. And one of the things that I said was put a couple of rocks or something side by side on your table, and your nightstand, and if it moves, whether it's you or them, you'll know if you've been taken or not. And Joe recently had his rocks or his I think he was using rocks, moved into a different position. So he's wondering what might have went on. How would he know?
There's a couple different ways you can find out, Joe. The simplest of which is, honestly, you can ask yourself, okay, what happened? And trust the information that you receive and just write it down without critiquing it as it's coming into your mind. You can also ask yourself, if you're kind of nervous to find out the information, to make this information start making itself apparent in your dream time. And the reason I say in your dream time is people are often more comfortable seeing something that's happened in their past, if it's slightly concerning to them, when they're on the other side, when they have a full remembrance of who they are and what they've encountered and what they're capable of, versus who they believe themselves to be here. You could go to someone to get hypnotized to find out what happened, although depending upon who you are, hypnosis can take several sessions if you have a block around it or you have trouble going more into the subconscious mind. Alternatively, Joe, if you're comfortable, you could just ask the beings who, took you, hey, do you mind coming back and telling me what happened? Or just make yourselves more known? It's up to you, though.
We're going to step out for a break here at the bottom of the hour. Samantha Mowat is our guest, the ET Experience. We have Samantha on the second Tuesday of every month, as she is one of our monthly contributors. Her website is samanthamowat.ca. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be right back.
Have you ever had an extraterrestrial experience? One you just couldn't explain? Well, maybe I can help. Hello, I am Samantha Mowat. On the second Tuesday of each month, I will join Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio to bring a human aspect to ET contact. It's something I've lived with my entire life, and I'd love to help you understand. Let's share our experiences. The ET Experience, the second Tuesday of each month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Fairies? Bigfoot? Dogmen? Trolls? Goblins? Hey, if it's cryptid in any way, I'm looking into it. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, also known as Spaced Out Radio's Crypto Guru. Join me every second Wednesday of the month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will talk about the stories people call tall tales. I will fill you in on the latest sightings and the hidden histories that are causing quite a stir. You can find everything at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Rivulet Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr, or my Facebook page, Rivulet R&R, to set up an appointment for relaxation, Reiki, or readings, no matter where you are. It's time for you to make time for you.
Would you like to expand your clientele? Have you ever thought of online radio advertising? Check out spacedoutradio.com to get your name out there. Our listeners support those who advertise with us, so why not give it a try? We have the most competitive advertising prices out there. Just click on the advertising tab on spacedoutradio.com and contact us today.
Are you an ET experiencer, but you just don't know what's going on? Are you too timid or shy to discuss it with anyone? Maybe I can help. Join me, R. Keith Andrews, the first Friday of every month on Spaced Out Radio, and I will help you to find the answers you're looking for. Together, I will help you understand the off-worlders and the true meanings behind your experiences. All you have to do is join us in the Spaced Out Radio chat room. See you there.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two Mediums and a Large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Do you have a topic or a guest that you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Radio? Let us know at spacedoutradio.com, where you can sign up to become a Space Traveler member today. Or you can find us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio Show. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Our music man, Bumblefoot, rocking us in and out of every commercial break. We thank Ron Bumblefoot THAL for his musical genius around Spaced Out Radio. Tomorrow night on the show, Rob Morphy will join us. The crypto historian is back. Hopefully his mother's feeling much better because he had to miss the last show because of it. Our SOR Space Traveler's password, set by Bill Cardwell every night. Tonight, the password is metaphysical. Nice and easy, smooth off the tongue, metaphysical is the password. Thank you so much for your listening in on the SHR Media Network, over in Paranormal Forum, online, on the Spaced Out Radio chat room, on Spreaker, and on Facebook. The SOR Space Travelers, which is our flagship chat room for this show, Euphoria Chronicles, as well as Forest Moon Paranormal. Reminder, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, to hear our archives, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. We bring Samantha Mowat back in. Her website is samanthamowat.ca, the CA standing for Canada. So that's why you're wondering, if you're scratching your head wondering, what the heck is CA? Why isn't it com? Well, we're up in Canada. The ET Experience happens the second Tuesday of every month, as I get a little tongue-tied there. Samantha, welcome back.
Hi, Dave.
I have a bunch of questions from our audience here. You know, sometimes this happens where I have a bunch of topics lined up that I want to get to, but the audience just takes it in their direction. I love it when they do that because it tells me that they're actually listening and they're active and they're loving what you're doing. So I'm going to start off with a question from Lynn. Do they believe in God, Jesus, connected to a higher source?
God, yes. Higher source, yes. Jesus, not necessarily.
And who would that be?
What do you mean? Almost all of them believe in some form of God or another. They don't believe it in the same way in which we do, because the way we are taught to perceive God is to believe that there is separation, control, anger, and that we are going to incur the wrath of God if we are not good little children. The way they see it is more of, this is a connection, almost like the supreme creator, the one that has been creating and expanding and experimenting, learning as much as they can about everything within reality. That is more their belief of God. They do not have the same perception of someone has to die for something that we are going to do in the future that is really, really bad to save our soul. Because from their point of awareness, you do not need to have your soul saved. Your soul is created by the Creator and is a gift from the Creator. You are an extension of awareness and awareness of possibility. That is more so what I've been taught around it.
Lynn also would like to know what your opinion is on Bigfoot. Nephilim? Missing link? Alien creature?
I don't know. I'd love to meet Bigfoot, but if I get the beautiful pleasure of meeting Bigfoot, and to be honest, my perception of Bigfoot is I wouldn't be surprised if it's something that has been carried over from Atlantean times when they were mixing DNA on a very large scale between the various humans, animals, trying with the different kinds of hybrids, and maybe it's just one that managed to escape and survive. That is my perception, and if I do get to meet Bigfoot, I hope it's with you, Dave, because I think that'd be quite a fun little adventure.
Well, of course. I mean, you showed me ETs, I'm showing you Bigfoot. I'll make you jealous right now. I am actually going out on Sunday to see an area where I know there are Bigfoot around, and they've been seen. in that area. So I am actually going out there on Sunday, probably not by myself, because that would be kind of silly. I'm still determining when during the day it's going to happen, but I'm going out, and I think this is the start for me from when the message that I got to move north. I think this is the start. I'm going to check everything out to make sure on my spiritual side if that's truly what they want. They're leading me to this Sunday coming up. What an experience that would be for Father's Day for me, abandoning my family to go looking for Bigfoot, but that's okay. Trippin has a question for you in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. Do any extraterrestrials get upset that we are teaching each other about them visiting us?
Some, undoubtedly. The ones that don't exactly have our best interest in mind and wish to have control over us, yeah, they're actually quite ticked off at us, and they'll do everything in their power to help prevent us from sharing this information.
I never would have thought of that. I would have never really thought of that. Bonnie has a question in the SOR Space Travelers. How do you know if a human is part alien?
In my awareness of it, is you'll feel something, well, that depends. Is this person trying to determine if they're of extraterrestrial origin? In which case they may have the feeling of, I don't actually belong here, this is not truly my home, these are not truly my people, I feel like I'm a foreigner in this land, even though I was born here and born into this family, and have a sense of knowing that their home is out in the stars. Versus if you are a human that's trying to make a sense of whether someone around you is of extraterrestrial origin, it would probably be easiest to feel the vibration that is being emitted by the person who you're speculating could be of extraterrestrial origin. Most extraterrestrials will have a vibrational frequency, so a feeling coming out of them that you're picking up on that feels lighter or will feel completely different. It'll almost, I hate to use the word, but it's the most fitting, it will feel alien. It will feel like something you have never experienced or something you very infrequently encountered. That would be the best way in which I can explain how you could have that sense of whether someone is or is not extraterrestrial in origin.
Bill Cardwell, who sets our Spaced Out Radio SOR Space Travelers password every night, just a reminder, it is metaphysical tonight. His question to you, Samantha, is it possible for a person to carry some alien DNA and absolutely have no idea that they do carry it, or would there be unmistakable signs?
I believe both are actually true. I believe everyone on Earth is a hybrid. It is just a matter of to what degree you have each kind of extraterrestrial DNA within your body. There are signs within each species of extraterrestrial that are manifesting in people. For instance, if you're looking for someone who's predominantly more of reptilian origin when it comes to either their soul, like let's say their DNA, they're going to have things such as the ability to build body muscle quite easily. They're going to have a more pronounced brow ridge. Their eyes are more likely to be slightly sunken in. Smiling isn't going to feel as natural for them, things along that physical characteristic wise. You can also look for the DNA component. A lot of people that have a strong amount of extraterrestrial DNA will be of the negative blood type. When it comes to people that are more of, let's say, gray DNA of one kind or another, they are going to have more of your smaller frame. You're going to see a little bit of the larger eyes, thinner hair, things of that line, versus people that are more Nordic DNA are going to be different again. They're going to be typically calmer. They're going to want to be more peacemakers. They're going to have skin that's more temperamental to the environment around them. So they will have more of a sensitivity towards hot and cold. Their body is going to be typically trimmer when it comes to stuff like that. They're not going to have the same ability to put on muscle, but they're also not going to be as delicate necessarily as, say, people that have more of the gray DNA, versus when you look at someone who would have more of, say, the mantis DNA, be different again. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do completely.
Does he understand what I'm saying?
I hope so. I very much hope so. Let's get to more questions from Paranormal Chat here, or the Paranormal Forum chat, and we'll start off with one by Jay Adams. She's never been able to understand why the Star Trek no intervention concept doesn't pertain to abductions. The word experiencer means that one who is in agreement with the interaction, while abduction sounds discounting free will and choice.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your opinion on that?
I need to explain one thing to you regarding that. Within people who have contact of any kind, there are actually 3 categories. You have abductees, contactees, and experiencers. Abductees do not give permission to be abducted. They experience abduction, and primarily people that are in areas such as the States or China, they are more likely to be abductees because of the government contracts that have gone on between various extraterrestrial races and their government in exchange for technology, power, you name it. Versus contactees are people who may not necessarily initiate the contact, but tend to have more of a benevolent experience with the extraterrestrials that they encounter. Contactees will have extraterrestrials taking care of their body. They will have them more aware of what this person is going through, and if they're sick, they'll come help make them feel better. Or if they're needing to be protected, a contactee is more likely to be protected, whether it's on an etheric level or physical intervention. Versus an experiencer is someone who will have conscious contact with extraterrestrials, where the extraterrestrial can come into their house and talk to the person for, let's say, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour, whatever, or even take the person up onto craft, thank you, and exchange information, answer their questions, things of that way is probably the best way I can put it. There are very distinct differences, and that is why it is important for people to learn whether they are actually an abductee, a contactee, or an experiencer. Most of my experiences are contact experiences. Some are experiences, and others are abductions, and they do go hand in hand a little bit. It just depends upon who it is that's contacting you.
For those who are abductees, is there any way to shut it down?
As I had mentioned earlier, the Merkaba is probably the best way. You have to change your vibrational frequency to being at a level that they are uncomfortable being in your presence. If you focus on the fear of what it is you are experiencing around fear of being taken at night, the fear of what's going to happen to you, the fear that they could pop up at any moment, things of that nature, then you are lowering your frequency to a rate that they are not able, or that they are actually able to get in contact with you. Another aspect of it is a lot of abductees can have a soul contract with these beings that makes it so it's okay for them to come get them. You can ask yourself, your higher self, to make it so you remember your soul contract, and you can get rid of that soul contract, because that can help get rid of some of the interaction when it comes to some of these beings. That is the best way in which I can explain it to you from my knowledge.
Let's go back to Paranormal Forum here for a moment. Jay Adams is asking if our God is their God, or let me rephrase that. Is our God the God of Earth, and they have a different God of the Pleiades, or are they one of the same?
We only have one universal creator, and that's more so how they perceive it. They don't believe that one God created the Earth and one God created the Pleiades. They see it as more of this being, this divine being, which from what they've explained to me is more of a feminine essence rather than a masculine essence. And it's interesting that they have a different perception of it, but that is more so how they've explained it to me, is that there's one creator who has created this universe and many other universes, and that they don't state from ever, when I've talked to them, that there is only one creator. They say there is more of a prime creator, one that created this universe and the various components of it, the diversity of life that you can find in it, but they don't say that's the only creator there is in the whole multiverse.
Follow-up question for you. Were Pleiadians quite active during Atlantean times?
Yes, and they were also quite active during the Orion Wars. The Pleiadians have been coming here for a very, very long time. And I really dislike the concept that people have where they say Pleiadians are entirely benevolent. Well, no, that's not true. They are not entirely benevolent, because you had to survive the reptilians somehow, and you don't survive the reptilians coming into your area by being a completely benevolent species.
Were all ETs observing, interacting during that time of Atlantis?
They were able to come and go as they pleased, because we didn't have the embargo on Earth like we do now. Mm-hmm. The net wasn't up at that time.
So much is said about Native Americans
Mm-hmm.
and their connection to Mother Earth, the stars, the star beings, the skies, the spirit world. Are there certain races that are more connected to Native Americans / First Nations than, say, Caucasian people or African American or Chinese?
Yes, undoubtedly, the diversity within the human race, when it comes to our physical characteristics, come from the different extraterrestrial races. A lot of Aboriginal races have strong recollection that they've been dealing with the Pleiades, and they'll point to the Taurus star system saying, this is where we came from, this is where our brothers are. And I believe that's part of the reason why my body chose to incarnate into my soul chose to incarnate into a body that has a lot of Native origin in it, is to help me remember where I came from.
When you talk with First Nations people about the spirit world or about the extraterrestrial world, is it such an open conversation like it is for you right now with everyone else, or do you find that, there is certain guidelines that you have to follow to show the respect of the elders that have gone on before when you talk with First Nations?
I find that you should respect elders in all walks of life. It's not just First Nations, but I seem to have this wonderful ability to get people to start talking about things that they normally wouldn't discuss with other people. For me, when I've talked to anyone about this subject, even if it is First Nations, they will end up mentioning about our Star Brothers. And it's not really a big deal. It's not something they necessarily go around parading with people because they won't have the understanding. But if they feel they can trust you, if they sense that they can trust you and they are aware that you're not going to misuse the knowledge that they're sharing with you, then yes, they are willing to share it with you.
Do you think certain cultures have more connection than others, or do you think it's just blanketed?
I would say all cultures have connection, but I do believe some seem to have more interaction than others.
When it comes to contact, there is a big fear out there, and I think it's a lot having to do with being media-induced, about people bringing abduction, contact, and experience all under one umbrella. How often do you find that with your clientele who have had experiences, or people you talk to who have had experiences, do you have to break down the difference between the three?
I explain it pretty much anytime I talk to someone who's a contactee on one level or another, just so they can be aware that there is a distinct difference, even when they're talking to the people in their own lives. For the most part, I don't have abductees coming to me, Dave. The people that come to me are typically contactees or experiencers, or people who just know that their soul is not from here, and they want to be able to get in touch with their soul family because they're having intermittent conversations with them, and they'd like to have a deeper, stronger connection.
Is that hard for a lot of people that you've dealt with? And the reason why I ask that is on a nightly basis here, when we do talk about ET contact, I notice in the chat rooms, it seems to be one of those topics that just riles people up because of the abduction experience. Abduction, of course, being where you really haven't given permission to allow them to take you. In the United States, from what I see, it doesn't seem to be that much of a choice. It seems more people are being abducted than having contact or having an experience. And I think that bleeds into the fear that a lot of people have with this. So how do you calm their minds down, Samantha? Or how could I calm the listeners' minds down, or themselves calm their minds down, in regards to being able to define each of the three and what is truly happening, instead of blanketing it over one statement?
I think that when you're talking to people who have gone through something as traumatic as an abduction, you need to really be very considerate, very cautious, and aware of what it is you're saying. Because if you're not careful, you can terribly offend someone in your ignorance if you speak too quickly or too judgmentally about the topic. When I'm discussing things of this nature with someone, and if they were to have abductions rather than any contacts or any experience or type experiences, I would first explain, okay, I understand that you're having this. Just so you're aware, these are the other types of contact. What you're having is not the only kind that people are experiencing. And then I would listen to their experiences, and I would help them come to a better understanding of, okay, this is what has happened. Now, here's what you can help do about it. Pardon me. And explain to them how their vibrational frequency is really, in part, allowing these beings to come see them. 1 second. Sorry, my throat. So, because they are allowing that fear vibration to get to them, you are lowering the vibration you are emitting. And when you lower your vibration, that is what is part of what allows many of these dimensional entities to access you. There's a reason why they tend to get the same people over and over. Once they have their claws into you, it is easier for them to really come back time and time again. And the reason I bring up vibration is everything is energy, everything is frequency. Even these beings, many of them feed off of the vibrational resonance, like resonance coming out of someone's auric field. When they're emitting this fear at night, they know, okay, so Bob over here is terrified when the sun goes down because he's worried we're going to come back. Well, instead of coming up or coming into his full energetic field and taking him, well, let's just go hang out by him and make the lights flicker or walk across his field of vision, things like that. Do you understand?
Absolutely. Jay Adams has a follow-up question to that, though. What is your personal feelings, then, about the ethics of abduction?
I do not agree with abduction. I think that if you're going to have contact with someone, it does not matter where you are from. You have no right to take that person without them having an awareness of it. They may have agreed to it on a soul level to some degree, but they have the right to know if they've made an agreement on a soul level, and they have the right to know exactly what they agreed to. And if you remember that you made the soul contract, then you also have the ability to help destroy that soul contract and to get out of that soul contract. And quite often that's why they will not allow you to remember it.
So how does one find out if they have a soul contract?
One of the easiest ways is to either ask your higher self or to ask your guides to bring forward any information about a soul contract if you have one with these beings. You would think about, okay, I'm having experiences with Grace, or I'm having them with reptilians, or I'm having them with mantis, or I'm having them with whatever you're having them with. And then you'd say, okay, do you have a contract? And you'll feel it in your body, because the truth will always make you feel light and the lie will always make you feel heavy. If you do have a contract, you'll feel almost like a lightness or a sense of energy moving forward. Okay, you have a contract? All right. Who is my contract with? And then you go through your groups. Okay. And then you can ask yourself, can I get out of this contract? Because quite often, unless you've signed up for life, you are able to get out of it quite easily. And even then, you can get out of it. You can do various techniques for burning up contracts, destroying all contracts in all directions of time throughout all dimensions, things of that nature. And you can find them either on YouTube, or you can find them online, or you can go get a book on how to do energetic protection. They will all teach you how. You don't necessarily have to go see a metaphysical practitioner in order to have these things removed.
Is it that simple? Like, where would someone find someone who could deal with that?
You could probably just go onto Google and look up someone who removes soul contracts, or how to destroy soul contracts, how to remove soul contracts. There are various techniques you can do. I know in Dorian Virtue's book, she has them at the back of a few of her Developing Your Psychic Ability books. Same with Sonia Choquette. You should be able to find them in pretty much any of those people's type books. And they should have this information available on YouTube as well.
Samantha, when it comes to the fear that people have in regards to thinking anything ET, is there a lot of fear people should have, or has the media overblown it? Has the government and conspiracy theorists overblown it?
I do think fear is a completely natural response to some of the things. If you're encountering beings that are coming into your room at night when you're a small child and they're scaring you, and then they're assaulting you years later, and then they're taking you places and threatening to eat you and destroy you, then yeah, I think fear is a very valid response. But there also comes a point where you have to look at it in this perspective. Yes, I've had these experiences, but do I want to allow these experiences to define my life, to rule my life? And if you choose not to allow for them to define your entire existence, then you need to start taking a more proactive approach when it comes to these things. Yes, the government has overblown it. Yes, conspiracy theorists have taken some of these experiences and twisted them and warped them, and I understand that. They're trying to analyze it from all angles, but in one sense, they're actually making this worse rather than better because they're not providing people solutions. They're providing them with more fear. I don't believe you should fall into fear. I think you need to be a very proactive soul and protect yourself.
We are talking with Samantha Mowat tonight on Spaced Out Radio. The ET Experience happens the second Tuesday of every month. Samantha joins us. Her website is samanthamowat.ca. And we will be right back with the final hour of Spaced Out Radio and Samantha Mowat right after this.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Is the 24-hour world starting to wear you down? Let me from Rivulet Reiki and Ratings lend you a hand. Hi, this is Jolene, and if you're in need of Reiki or a realm reading, come to my website, rivuletrr.wix.com/rivuletrr, and let us help you out. At Rivulet, I specialize in healing your body, mind, and soul, no matter where you are. And be sure to check out the Rivulet R&R Facebook page for your best deals. Remember, it's time for you to make some time for you.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us on Spaced Out Radio? Head to spacedoutradio.com to check out the latest shows, guests, and sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club You'll find all you need at spacedoutradio.com. Final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're in the SOR Space Travelers chat room, tonight's password set by our password maker, Bill Cardwell. It is metaphysical. Metaphysical is tonight's password. Thank you so much if you're listening in on the SHR Media Network, over in Paranormal Forum, on Spreaker at the Spaced Out Radio chat room, and on Facebook at Forest Moon Paranormal, UFOria Chronicles, and our flagship, SOR Space Travelers. Good to have you all with us. Tomorrow night on the show, Rob Morphy joins us. He will be talking historic cryptids as he does his monthly appearance on the show. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give your Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. That's where we store our archives. And our website, have a new look very soon. I'm kind of excited about it, is spacedoutradio.com. The ET Experience happens on the second Tuesday of every month. Our guest is Samantha Mowat. Her website, samanthamowat.ca. If you want to check it out, talk to her about ETs, have a psychic reading, because she's pretty incredible. I do recommend her. Samantha, thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, Dave. Thanks again for having me.
I want to get to Gail's question in the SOR Space Travelers, because I think it has a lot of validity after what we've been talking about the last half hour.
Mm-hmm.
How is it, Samantha, that they above cannot help with Fukushima because they don't have permission, but there are groups up there that will come down and abduct an individual without permission?
Well, Gail, the very simple fact of the matter is, as I discussed earlier, I mentioned how within each group there are subgroups. So we do have a large group of extraterrestrials who are working together in unison to try to help us to raise our vibrational frequency, to help heal our planet, things along that nature, to put us back in a really positive timeline. But those groups are not necessarily in interaction. Well, I shouldn't say not necessarily. They're not in interaction with the groups that are running things down here. And a lot of the governments around our planet do actually have agreements with different extraterrestrial groups to abduct a certain amount of people and do as they will with them. Typically, they will not allow for those people to be of quote-unquote significance. So to our governments, people like you and me, well, we're just not relevant. I'm sorry to say it, but we're not. And so they make it so that they're allowed to abduct people such as ourselves. The reason why... Oh, sorry, Dave, you were going to say?
No, go ahead. I'm just listening in.
Breathing. The reason why the benevolent groups, such as the Pleiadians, such as the Andromedans, Arcturians, things of that nature, the Syrians, are not interacting, is they don't want to interact with us and cause us more fear. The last thing they'd want is to step in too soon and for us to turn to our government saying, fix this, heal this, make it so it's right again, get rid of the aliens, ETs, because then that would be us handing over our power and our sovereignty to someone else. They would like for us to return to our power and our sovereignty, and that's why they're not fixing things like Fukushima, and that's part of why they're allowing abductions to occur.
Do you think we get into too much trouble as humans as labeling all aliens as aliens rather than just saying, okay, we have the Pleiadians, we have the Nordics, we have the Greys, we have the Reptilians? Do we need to define then, in order to answer that question correctly, what species actually cares and which doesn't?
Well, yes, we do. We not only need to define what species cares and what doesn't, but even within these species, I mean, within the reptilians alone, you do have some really good reptilian groups out there who don't eat humans, who don't feed on our energy, who don't do things like that. You also have some Pleiadians out there who don't have our best interest at heart. So to me, just assuming that one group is all good and one group's all bad, or even labeling all extraterrestrials or all multidimensionals as good or bad, that's just prejudice. That's as being as racist as saying all blondes are dumb or all whatever. It's the same level of bigotry, but on a multi-planet level.
How come we cannot contact them, but they can come around anytime? And I bring this up because the other night as I told you before the show, I felt extraterrestrial energy around my house. And I went with my pendulum to ask a few questions. They said they are outside. They are not going to be seen. They are not making contact tonight. I'm not going to be taken. How come it's always their choice?
That's a good question. They have a wider range of vibrational accessibility. So when you think about beings that are operating on the 5th density, 6th density, so on and so forth, they're able to change the vibrational frequency that their body is operating at so that they could be occupying the same space as you, but because they're operating at a different vibrational frequency, you're not able to perceive them, but because they're more psychically in tuned, more aware, they're able to perceive you. They're able to send telepathic messages to you. They're able to see what's going on your level. That is part of the reason why I'm trying to make it known to everyone. You must develop your psychic abilities to have a wide range of contact with these beings. That way you're aware of what's going on around you. It's helping you to become less naive. It's not necessarily that we can't communicate with them and that we can't call upon them. It's more so we have the ignorance around us because we have not made the choice to move forward and learn more on how to communicate with them. They are communicating with us because they know how. We're not communicating because we just haven't had the opportunity. That is knowledge that has been taken away from us and knowledge that has been withheld as a whole. But with the internet, you now have the opportunity, the first time in history, to really access more information than you could ever possibly use. Learn something new, people. Try it. Give it a shot. What do you have to lose?
When they look down upon us, and I think we are probably one of the greatest reality TV shows going, do they look at us, or do many species look at us and say, we really don't want to have contact. You're way too young and way too reckless and violent in order to try and bring any sort of stabilization to you?
I would say both. Many species will look at the human race this time and go, no thank you, I'm not dealing with that, and they will walk away. And that is also why it's important for us to mature spiritually. If you look at how humans have evolved, even in the last 50 years, 100 years, there's a massive awakening going on at this time. And that's part of the reason why more extraterrestrial races are becoming involved with humanity, why they're engaging with us, because we are waking up. Our vibration is raising. Kids are being born with more active DNA chromosomes. For instance, my grandparents, people who were born in like the 30s, the 40s, they have less active DNA than the children that are being born now. And because these children have more active DNA, they are able to tune into their psychic abilities. They are able to communicate with these beings on with an easier time, because it is just naturally occurring within them. That is why we're having more contact now than ever.
Shar in the Space Out Radio chat room on Spreaker is asking, do the Greys and Mantids hang out together? Do they work with one another?
They don't hang out, but they do work with one another. As a whole, the Grey race does seem to be subservient, in my understanding, in my experience, to most of the other extraterrestrial races that they seem to be working with. I have not seen Greys and reptilians in the same, or Greys and Pleiadians in the same place. I have seen Greys and reptilians. I have seen Greys with Mantis. I have seen Greys with some white ones and some tan ones. They do tend to interact, and you can't say all Greys are bad, because even if you look at Greys, you have your typical Greys with the wraparound eyes, but then you've got your Greys that are 4 feet tall with the little round beady eyes. You've got your Greys that are very, very tall. I mean, there is a lot of variety to these different types of beings, and the different varieties will have different agreements with other groups. And sometimes you have turncloaks where they've made an agreement with one group, but they've also made an agreement with another group to do something else. I mean, it is quite a complicated thing when you actually start to look at what's going on.
Lynn has a question in Paranormal Forum. Do you believe, Samantha, that what we perceive as ghosts are really extraterrestrial beings?
No, not necessarily. I believe that many of what we perceive to be ghosts are beings that are occupying the lower astral, and it is your clairvoyance and your mediumship that is allowing you to witness them as a clear to slightly hazy looking person.
Bill Hauser in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker is asking, where do star children fit into all of this?
Star children are merely extraterrestrial beings that have decided to incarnate on this planet to help either raise the frequency, heal the planet, awaken the human race, things along that origin. Many of the people that are upon the planet at this time are star seeds, have their true home on another planet, and that is why they do not feel the connection to here, but feel like there's something driving them, something itching in the back of their mind saying, I need to be doing something. Going to work every day 9 to 5 isn't it. There's something I'm supposed to be doing, but I just can't remember to save my life what it is.
Gail has a very deep question in the SOR Space Travelers chat room on Facebook. Mm-hmm. She's saying, American slavery ended in 1865. No one can make a contract over another. What makes it okay for extraterrestrial species to do so? Because experts mention often about contracts that were made to take humans in exchange for whatever. Unless you are the dependent or the property of another, you do not have any legal or moral right to do so.
I agree that you do not have the legal or moral right to do so, but that does not change the fact that it's happening. Gail, if you look at people around the world, we have things such as the sex trade. We do have human slavery still going on in every single country on this planet. We have people who will go into a country believing that they're going to be working, that they can send home money to their family, but then they have their passports taken away from them and they're taken into slavery, working, cleaning someone's house, cooking for them. We do have slavery, and the reason why these beings are able to make contracts around us is they can put us into a state where we are willing to agree upon these contracts, whether it's to save our life. It's known as, in one sense, a deal with the devil for a reason. A lot of people will make soul agreements to get out of debt or to have something that their soul desperately longs for, such as we see with the Monarch programming, people wanting to be celebrities, wanting to be rich, wanting to be famous, things of that nature. Those people have all made soul contracts to go along with, well, they'll get their money and their fame now, and then their soul is someone else's for the rest of their incarnations. Many people have done that in previous lives to one degree or another, to save the life of their child, to save the life of their spouse, things of that nature. That is how soul contracts can come into place.
I think it should be made mention in Vancouver right now, there is a very, very strong contingent of Chinese immigrants coming over, paying an exorbitant amount of money to get over to Canada illegally. Mm-hmm. And then when they arrive here, they actually get their passports taken away until they work off their debt that it costs them to get over here. Then only then are they handed back their passports. So yes, slavery in one way or another is still happening, and I did want to mention that. Eric has a question for you in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. It's to do with ghosts. Okay. What end of the electromagnetic spectrum do ghosts hover near? UV or IR?
I don't know. All I know is that they're operating on a lower vibrational frequency, and that's part of the reason why we're able to see them. The best way in which I can explain it to you is when you have something like that that is near you, you can feel a denseness, a heaviness. It feels like the air is suddenly quite cold. It can feel as though you have chills going through your body. That is how it feels. How it looks is different, because ghosts, when I've seen them, are not in as clear of a form as we are. And that is in part due to our vibration being at a faster vibrational frequency than theirs. When they're coming into our vibrational frequency, they don't see us fully clear either from what they've explained to me. They see us as being slightly transparent.
Samantha, I want to spend some time on getting into your opinion of disclosure. There is a lot of debate right now in the United States election process on who will be running for president in the election in November in regards to disclosure and whether or not it's time to let mankind know that we are being visited, and this coming from the most powerful country on the face of the earth. Mm-hmm. Do you believe that mankind is ready for disclosure?
For the most part, I would say no, based upon our media. Because our media has created so much fear around this area, many people would be at a loss. They would not know how to best handle themselves in the event of extraterrestrial craft suddenly appearing above every major city all around the world. As much as I think disclosure could be a wonderful thing and really save us from this slavery that we are all currently embedded into with our debt slavery, until people actually have an awareness of their belief that they should be sovereign beings with an understanding of their natural psychic abilities so they can communicate with these beings and have an awareness of when their governments are aligned to them, when they're being told truthful information and what they can do in order to maintain their sovereignty rather than giving their power away. I think disclosure could in one sense be us handing over our power entirely.
See, I'm not fully convinced that disclosure is a good thing. I look at the way on this show on a nightly basis that people react as they have already with some very deep and in-depth questions and almost fearful questions when it comes to abduction / contacts / experience. Mm-hmm. And when I see the reactions from people, especially our American listeners, it does give me a cause for concern that we aren't ready to find out what the truth really is, even though deep down we already know.
I agree with you, Dave, but I also think that is why they are on a very gradual process preparing us for disclosure. As I'm sure you and your listeners are all well aware, the Pope, I do believe the current Pope, said that he would baptize extraterrestrials. Well, that is preparing people on one level, on a subconscious level, for things like disclosure. Many of the movies that are coming out now are about extraterrestrials coming to Earth and not necessarily invading Earth, but living amongst us on one level or another. It is getting it into your programming that this will happen at some point.
I can see that and I can feel that, but Hollywood and the media have not done a good job over the last couple of decades in promoting extraterrestrial contact. You look at video games; they're violent with
Halo.
Extraterrestrials. You know, whether it's Halo, whether it's Doom, or whatever it could be. You know, you look at movies. And you mentioned that some of them are talking, positively, but there's still quite a negative connotation regarding ETs in the movies. You think of Alien, you think of Predator, Fire in the Sky, right? Just to name 3. And I don't think that with what they have shown us, that they have absolutely been part of the problem in preparing people for disclosure, because this could go one way, which is positively, but the setup to it over the last couple of decades has been more of a negative connotation. And when you have people who are believing 100% that all ETs are bad, and I'm not saying everybody does, but a lot of people do think all ETs are bad, when it happens, if disclosure happens, I could see guns coming out. I could see bullets flying at any spaceship that comes across the sky. I could see this turning into a very bad, almost anarchic situation.
But Dave, that's also why we have the starseeds coming now, these people that have the awareness that their soul is not from here. You got to remember, yes, the beings that are in power here on Earth are looking at it as okay, we've got our list of objectives that we're going to go through before we actually bring forward good Lord, I can't say the word right now, disclosure, thank you. But that is their approach. They're using Hollywood as a tool to make people fearful of their contact, because if everyone felt good and safe and okay at their contact, they'd be encouraging more of it. They'd be welcoming these extraterrestrials down. They'd be trying to acknowledge that not only are they present, but they're interacting with us, and hey, look, we can share information and heal the planet, which is not necessarily in the powers that be best interests. Versus when you look at the extraterrestrials that are in contact with us, that are hoping to raise the vibration of humanity and consciousness, these are the same groups that are incarnating not only at this time, but over the last 50 years to help change the frequency, to change the awareness, to act as beacons of light when things like that are going on. I'm pretty sure that based upon what is happening on the planet at this time, we are having a surge of children coming in that realize that they're not from here, that their parents are just the parents they chose for this life. And they're remembering not only where they came from, but what their quote-unquote divine gifts are, what they specialize in on their home worlds. And they're bringing that information from the inside out. It's almost like an inside job. Because they couldn't change things from the outside, well, they've now decided to come in and help fix it from the inside. And that was one of the best moves that could have possibly been done to help change the way things are here on Earth. And that is what's going to help with disclosure, is these children still being born.
But before those children are born, or even if they are in toddler stage or very youthful, there's still a hell of a lot of adults, middle-agers, and seniors who have already been brainwashed that everything from above, if it isn't religious, is quite evil and negative.
I agree, but you got to remember, you have two different parties looking at it on the same wavelength. So you've got your powers that be that are looking at things going, okay, we're not planning on really bringing forward the quote-unquote alien disclosure for 20 years, for example. And then you'll have the extraterrestrials who are more benevolent, who find out, okay, well, based upon where they're going at this time, our estimated trajectory for their process is about 20 years from now, so we need to have these kids being born as of this time and increasing as much as we can the amount of children being born that are of these soul origins to help change that, to help make it so that's different. Just because middle-agers and older people at this time are very much so against it, it doesn't mean that they're, I'm sorry to say it doesn't mean they're going to be alive when disclosure finally happens. And I mean that with respect to them.
But it still doesn't attack a lot of the fear that will happen immediately. Let's face it, if the Democratic nomination or nominee for president, Hillary Clinton, gets into the White House and she says she will disclose what we know as long as it's not a matter of national security, the Pandora's box that will open up with that is unimaginable. I mean, it could open up the United States to trillions of dollars worth of lawsuits if it comes out that they knew about alien abductions taking place, that they were in agreement to trade for technology.
But Dave, they're not going to admit that part, and they're going to make it so there's loopholes so they can't sue their own government. They're too smart for something like that to happen.
Something always leaks out. There's always a leak. Nothing is, you know, I mean, Area 51 had a leak in Bob Lazar. You know, the NSA down south had a leak with Edward Snowden. So there is always a leak. But if it does come out, you know, and we talk about the religious side of things, there is a very strong religious right wing who believes that anything of extraterrestrial descent is demonic, is evil, is of the devil, and it could cause absolute chaos.
But Dave, when they end up bringing forward extraterrestrials, you know as well as I do, they are able to shapeshift and project images into our minds if they're trying to show a certain appearance, and they are most likely to appear as humans. They're going to want them to appear as being Nordics or Pleiadians or something that people view as being more safe. They're not going to come out as a squid type thing or a mantis or a reptilian right off the hop. They know as well as we do that that would be too much for people to handle in one go.
We have time for one question before we got to go to break here. And this comes from Trippin in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. How many more beings can Earth hold? We're running out of room as it is, unless the ETs come down and help us clean up this mess that we've made.
Well, I think that we can honestly hold a lot more beings, to be honest with you. I think we could even handle more humans if our resources were managed properly. At this time, I don't believe that we are managing things properly, especially not the way in which we are growing our food or taking care of things. We are allowing unnecessarily for land to be dedicated to things such as refineries when we have the capability for solar panels, wind panels, more green energy, things that do not actually have the same environmental impact, and things that occupy space unnecessarily. Even when it comes to things like our farming, how much space are we, I hate to say it, but wasting on flowers for roses, for people to give their spouses roses on Valentine's Day, that could be dedicated towards food. Same when it comes to our crops, how much of our crops are going towards feeding cattle rather than feeding people. Things of that nature. We are not thinking about our resources in a very efficient manner, and that is part of why we have so much hunger in the world and why there is such a competitive nature among the human species in order to survive.
Do you think there will be a time where we could work one-on-one with extraterrestrial beings, or do you think that they would help us inhabit other planets?
I do believe we will be working one-on-one with them. I could see most people working with them as I work with them, if not more so. And we already do occupy other planets. Our cousins are in different solar systems and are on different planets, even in our own solar system.
On that note, let's go to break here at the bottom of the hour. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. Our guest tonight, Samantha Mowat. The ET Experience happens the second Tuesday of every month. Samantha is a monthly contributor to this show. Her website is samanthamowat.ca. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be right back.
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4-Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio?
Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us.
From the radio, commercials, to banners, to social media.
Have a product you'd like our host to endorse? We can do that too.
Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Spaced Out Radio.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Missed most of tonight's show? Don't worry, you didn't miss a thing. You can head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and download our archives for free. And don't forget to get your Space Travelers membership today. Now, back to tonight's show. Welcome back, Spaced Out Radio listeners. I'm your host, Dave Scott. Final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. As we've rounded third, we're headed for home. If you're listening in on the SHR Media Network, over on Paranormal Forum, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, or on Facebook at Forest Moon Paranormal, Euphoria Chronicles, or the flagship SOR Space Travelers, always a good time to have you with us. Thank you so much for sharing your evening with us. A reminder to you, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our new look website, which will fire up very soon, is spacedoutradio.com. Tonight, for the final time, we introduce Samantha Mowat. She is the ET Connection here on Spaced Out Radio, or the ET Experience. It happens the second Tuesday of every month. Samantha's website is samanthamowat.ca. Man, we've filled a lot of information up tonight, Samantha.
That's good, Dave. I'm excited for it.
I'm worn out after this one. It's been a tough night. Some very good questions from our audience.
I agree. They've definitely done their research, and they're more aware than most people, and I like seeing that.
It does make this job a little bit simpler. I am going to tell you that. When's the last time you got taken?
My last encounter was last night with a reptilian.
Do you care to define what happened there?
Sure. I found myself on the other side, which is fine. The part I didn't like was I was near 3 children, and I somehow stumbled into their area, and this being changed from being in its reptilian form into being a partially human with reptilian eye form, and the next thing that I remember doing was extending my energy body outwards, connecting to God, Source, Creator, whatever you want to call it, pulling in a massive amount of love energy and pushing this being away, because it was not only terrorizing these children, but it was terrifying me. That is what I remember from my encounter last night.
Does it bother you when you see children involved?
Yes, definitely, because most children do not know how to protect themselves.
So what happens when you see, say, a 3 or 4-year-old or a 5-year-old or even a 10, 12-year-old on a ship, or being, I mean, you have the ability, Samantha, to be able to walk down the street and just tell if someone is human or if someone is not. How do you stop that from happening? Do you put your own energy field around them? How do you do it?
Well, if I'm on craft, and it depends on who I'm on craft with, it depends on the nature of the encounter. If I'm on craft and it's with a benevolent group and there's children, well, I don't think twice about it, because you can feel the vibration of the craft, you can feel the vibration of the beings around you, and you can feel how the children are feeling. You can sense if they're feeling dis-ease, or if they're feeling safe, or if they're feeling happy. And if you're near benevolent beings and children are there, then chances are the children not only feel fine being there, but to them it feels as natural as being anywhere else on Earth. Now, if I'm on craft, or if I find myself in a deep underground military base, or if I find myself somewhere and there are children and it feels like there's odd energy or discordant energy, so either fearful, angry, or just non-harmonious, then I will feel, okay, where is this energy coming from? Is it coming from the children, or is it coming from the beings? And I will look at the beings that are around me. Because with everything, you have to evaluate, not only have a situational awareness, but if you have these beings there, you need to be like, okay, is there discord because this vibration coming out of the beings doesn't resonate with my own energetic field, because we're completely different types of beings, which is one way in which you can have discord energy. Another way is if you sense that it's not because you're different types of beings, but you sense that there's something dangerous within the situation, sometimes you do have to just leave that energy field because you can't handle it. What's a good way to put this? I have one encounter where I stumbled across some, like, 2 male reptilians, and both were black. And when I stumbled into this house, I noticed that they had a group of children in front of them, and I believe the majority of the children were boys, and they were lined up in rows. And as soon as I walked in there was discord between the reptilian beings and myself, because we're obviously of very different soul origins, very different understandings and different agendas. But I did not sense those children to be in any danger, so I did not feel the need to extend my energy body to pull in higher vibrational love energy, which tends to be an energy field that most reptilians or beings that are parasitic in nature, they have a harder time resonating with that vibration. As a result, will either leave the area or will just, well, get away from you because they can't stand being near you. Because those children were not in danger, I just said, I'm sorry, I did not mean to interrupt, and I left. But when I've been in some other cases where I've encountered other people who are my labs, and when I found myself in a military base and there was a reptilian in front of me and he was projecting himself to be human, I looked at him and said, I know you're not human. And he took me with these 3 other women, and I could sense that we weren't going to be having a very good time. We were not safe. I remember holding onto the hand of another woman, and I was pulling my astral self, pulling her up through the different layers of this, almost like, well, it was a military base, but you know how there's different layers? Almost like they're operating on different levels of ground, like floor 1, floor 2, so on and so forth. I remember I was holding my breath, going 1, 2, 3, and as I did that, I was pulling our energies outward because we weren't safe. That is one way that you can escape these entities, as these attacks, is when you project yourself elsewhere, removing your energetic body from that area. The other way that you can do it is you can connect to God, source, whatever, and pull energy into your heart chakra, sending that love vibration. Those are the 2 ways that I know how to do it, outside of implementing a golden Merkaba around your energy field.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people mix up good contact with bad contact. A lot of people out there do believe that it is something that cannot be mixed, that it is 100% negative. But for a lot of people, they don't understand, or they're naive to the fact, you know what I mean, naive with all the best connotations, that there can be something different that is positive, maybe enlightening or spiritual. How does one tell the difference between good contact and bad contact?
Well, let's start with good contact. Good contact, when you have these beings coming near you, they'll be more considerate. So, for example, the encounter you and I had in the woods, that was good contact. Lucid dreaming encounters or astral projection encounters, where you encounter extraterrestrials and they're being courteous towards you, where they're explaining things like, okay, you have a lot of energy in your root chakra and we need to help fix this or you're going to get very sick. When they're asking you for permission to do something, that is good contact. When they're taking you to different locations and they're explaining things to you, they're treating you as their equal or as, in one sense, an honored guest, that would be good contact. Or even if they come into your room, like what Danny did to me, and he's sitting on my bed and he's explaining some things, that would be good contact as well. But when you look at things like abduction, where they're coming in the middle of the night, they don't have your permission to be there, they are scaring you, they're scaring your family, they're putting you back with your clothes on backwards, or they're putting you back and you've got marks on your body and they're painful, or if you're having night terrors, things of that nature, that would be more what I consider to be abduction rather than contact. Contact, for the most part, is very loving, and it tends to be done with consideration.
So how can one explain to themselves, because mentally a lot of us are not prepared for it. I remember when you and I had our encounter, I thought I was prepared. I definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
How do you explain to people how they can prepare for either the good contact or the bad?
Well, if you're trying to prepare for good contact, you need to remember that benevolent beings will not just randomly one night show up fully to, like, full form, standing in front of you, staring you right in the eye. Rather, they'll do things to help you know that they're nearby. You'll see craft for a while. You'll have the sensation, like how you were feeling the energies around you of the different extraterrestrials, things of that nature, where you're getting used to their vibrational frequency. They're gauging your awareness about how comfortable you are. If you do have them come see you and it's a benevolent contact, then they may make it a short contact experience where it's roughly just a meet and greet type thing, rather than a full-blown encounter where you go to their planet, you get a healing, and they're showing you your children. That's completely different. They wouldn't start out with something that large, that impacting upon you. They're very conscious of what's going to affect you. Now, when it comes to things like abductions, it is a very touchy subject, because most people, if they are having abductions, they are having very traumatizing experiences, and they may not be understanding what is going on. And you need to really look at it like, okay, so write down every detail you can remember from your experiences, be it contact, abduction, or experiences. And you need to be objective in what you're looking at. Okay, so they came for me in this month, and what I remember happening is this. And you need to really look at in the sense of, okay, well, how did I feel after that? Was I scared right away, or was I scared like 6 months later after I'd watched a bunch of movies about abduction? You really need to stop and evaluate that, because that's going to determine really what your true perception on something is.
Mm-hmm. Is there a way that you would describe to people on how they could bring positive contact in rather than negative? Because we hear a lot of people here who will come into this show and they'll say, look, I've never had any interaction whatsoever. I want to learn about this. I need to know that this is real. I don't care if it's positive or negative. And then I always come up with the saying, be careful what you wish for, which I think you would agree with, Samantha.
I do.
So let's focus on the positivity. If you were to walk someone through how to make positive contact or get a positive sign from a UFO in the sky, what would you tell someone who's an absolute rookie what to do?
The first thing, if I didn't have time to explain to them in whole, that I would just tell them, go onto YouTube, look up my Countdown to Contact presentation. It will tell you. The reason that I would do that if I didn't have time is the basics of it are you need to raise your vibration. You need to ground and protect your energy, because if you ground your energy, you're showing where exactly it is on this planet you are located. And when you protect your energy, you're keeping energetic vampires, things that have more of a malevolent intention, away from you. But what you're essentially going to end up doing is when you're in like a meditative type state, you send a beam of light roughly from your heart chakra going either upwards, or you pull light from any star down into your body. And the reason why you're making that light beam is you're roughly showing the position in which you're located. And when you're doing this, it's almost like you're showing an energetic signature of, hey, I'm right here, and I'm interested in benevolent contact. And what they're able to do is when they sense that, hey, this person is projecting outwards to us, they're interested in having contact, they're able to kind of pinpoint your precise energetic signature, because when you do that beam, it is your energy that is going to go up that beam, that goes out towards the star, and that comes out of not only your heart, but it's so they can figure out exactly who it is that made that contact, because we do tend to move around a fair bit as humans. Will go quite a fair distance for our work and going to get groceries and what have you. Now, the next thing that you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up really keeping that intention for a little bit, like maybe 5 minutes, saying, I like to make contact, or I'm hoping to reconnect with my soul family, or things of that nature. You're really setting that vibrational frequency to what it is you're looking for. Because we are operating at a frequency where whatever we focus our intention on, whatever we really have an awareness of and put our mind to, we end up drawing to us. And if you're making the vibrational frequency of, I don't care what kind of contact I have as long as I have contact, then not only are you allowing for those negative entities to come into your vibrational frequency, but you're making yourself vulnerable unnecessarily. When you're making contact, I'd prefer that you did things like, I would really like to meet Pleiadians, or I'd really like to meet Andromedans, or Arcturians, Sirians, something that is more of a positive nature. You could even do something as generic as saying, I like to meet the family of light, which is more, light is just a vibrational frequency that's around understanding, sharing of knowledge, things of that nature. Now, at first you may not notice someone coming into the room right away. Rather, you might notice over the next week the sensation of not being alone in the room, the sensation of being watched, the feeling of safety around you, the feeling of, okay, it feels like there's extraterrestrials, or you might see one out of the corner of your eye. Things of that nature is kind of how it starts. And the reason why they tend to do it slower is you will, as you get used to their energetic presence, they are more comfortable coming to you because they know they're not going to scare you. The last thing most of these beings want to do is to make you fearful, because they don't want that vibration around you. They don't want you to associate them with fear. That, and the fear vibration is actually when it's very uncomfortable to be near. That is part of why they want us operating at a higher frequency, is it is more comfortable for them. Sorry?
What about negative contact? Because, as we said, you got to be careful what you wish for, but there's a lot of people who maybe do not understand the don'ts of what you shouldn't do in regards to bringing in a negative species.
Well, roughly the don'ts, if you want to avoid negative species, is don't drink alcohol, don't do drugs, don't do things that are going to intentionally lower your vibration. Eating a diet that is full of processed food, that is not with like healthy living food. Think of it this way: living food, living body. You want things that are more of a high vibrational frequency. So obviously vegetables have a higher vibrational frequency than meat, but fruit tends to have a higher vibration than vegetables, and juices have a higher vibration than fruit. So I mean, it's really interesting how it works in that sense. The things that raise your vibration, and you can find 101 ways online to raise your vibration, will help to bring those positive entities in. But if you're nervous about meeting an extraterrestrial, and you're like, you know, I just have to have a beer first, or I just have to go inside and smoke a joint, then you're really not going to be bringing positive entities to you. You're going to be bringing entities to you that are along that vibrational frequency.
Eric is wondering in the Space Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, how do you increase vibration frequency?
There's a number of ways. One of the easiest you can do is increasing the amount of water you drink. Things like blessing your water. I know it sounds a bit silly to say blessing your water, but when we have water at our house, we've got crystals in our water pitcher. After the water's been purified, we've got things such as words written on the bottom of our jug saying love, gratitude, appreciation. You can even, as you're picking up a glass of water, just look at it for a second, say thank you, or I appreciate you, or I love you. Dr. Mazoto, I believe it was, from Japan, did an entire study for years about how water can be changed by vibrations in our words. So let's say you look at a glass of water and you say, I love you. It will create one picture. And yet if you look at that same glass of water the next day and you tell it, oh, I hate you, you're worthless, you're ugly, anything like that, then those are the vibrations you're going to be bringing into your body. And the reason how it's all really interconnected and why I'm so focused on vibration is if you eat things like, I have no problem with people eating meat. I really don't. If your body needs meat, you go right ahead and eat that cow. But you need to get a happy cow. A cow that lived on a farm where it lived a good life and it ate healthy food and it had joy and it wasn't living in a small pen surrounded by other cows who couldn't move, eating the same horrible slop day in and day out with old yucky water and being pumped full of steroids. That cow that lives in that situation would not have a healthy vibration. So you're taking that vibration, that frequency into your body when you eat it. Everything you eat or drink is going to change the vibration you're emitting. Another way that you can change your vibration is things like meditating, going for a walk outside, being with your friends, laughing raises your vibration immensely. You may notice whenever I'm speaking, I tend to laugh at some of the most ridiculous or, in one perspective, stupid things. And it's because laughing will change the vibration from being heavy to being quite full of joy, to being very childlike, being of a very high nature. You can have stuff like crystals around your home to change the vibrational frequency and make it higher. Things like orgonite will help offset the electromagnetic pollution in our homes. which can lower our vibration. Putting your cell phone down for an extra hour in the day and not having it near you will raise your vibration. Things of that nature.
Bonnie wants to know in the SOR Space Travelers, how do we know what we are? What created us?
You mean in regards to your soul origin or in regards to creation?
Well, creation, let's say.
Well, I don't think anyone fully knows what we are. From my understanding about what the humans on this planet are, is the majority of us did come from the Lyran star system. And when the Lyran star system was invaded and ultimately taken over by the Draconis reptilians, half of the survivors end up heading towards the Pleiades, the other half headed towards this star system, and the ones that head here, from what I've come to understand and have come to learn, were genetically modified. And that is why we are not as advanced as we used to be tens of thousands and millions of years ago. That is from my point of awareness, that is from what I've come to be shown and from what I understand.
Is there anything left that scares you in this field?
Not necessarily. The only thing that scares me about this field is humanity possibly never waking up and remaining in this trap. That scares me because it makes me sad for them. But I really try to avoid the fear vibration.
Is there anything that startles you? Is there anything that catches you off guard anymore?
Yes, gardener snakes. If I'm in the garden and I'm walking through the woods, going to shoot a YouTube video, if there's a gardener snake, I'm still going to end up screaming like a girl.
But when it comes to extraterrestrials, are you past the point of being, freaked out like most people would be, Samantha? Because, let's face it, most people do not have the experiences or the experience that you do with these situations. Most people don't even recall if they've had contact at all.
I agree, but actually, yeah, I startle easily, so it doesn't matter what type of being it is. If I don't feel their energy presence and I'm lost in my own little world and I walk by my living room and, oh my God, there's something standing there, of course I'm going to startle for a moment. But will I remain scared? No, not necessarily. It depends on the frequency they're emitting. The reason why I'm remembering more of my contact than the majority of you is after I started to remember that, hey, I've had an experience, I was like, okay, if I've had that one, I bet I've had more. And every time I suspected I had more, I said, okay, self, higher self, myself, whatever. I want to remember more. I don't want to have this information hidden from me. I have the right to know. It is within my soul's rights to know everything that has occurred to my physical body, that has occurred to my soul, and I want to remember. Because I want to know whether it was good, whether it was bad, whether it was whatever. I knew that it was in my best interest to know. That way I could determine how I would act in the future.
Is there anything that you would like to see or any proof that you need coming forward that you would like to figure out on your own? Do you have any questions left?
Oh, I've got so many questions. When I was a small child, I used to annoy the heck out of my parents because I wouldn't stop asking questions. I would like to know why I agreed to do this. I would like to know more about my soul origin. I would like to have a better understanding as to why the craft I was in got shot down, because everyone says, no, you had to have agreed to have come here to incarnate on this planet, when I know for a fact I didn't agree to incarnate here, but I got stuck in the soul recycling aspect, which is fine. I want to have a better understanding why the reptilians who are coming to see me, why the majority of them have treated me with respect, what it is they want. I want to know what it is the TANs want with me, what it is I've agreed to do with them. You've got to remember, guys, just because I'm having this contact and I do know a fair bit about what has happened to me, that doesn't mean that my head's not still loaded with questions. I look at some of my stuff and I go, okay, I understand the Pleiadians were the first ones to really have strong contact with me, and I know they were the ones to teach me about energy, but why did they decide to start teaching me that? Why is it that after I decided to do Countdown to Contact, that reptilians started to become so heavily involved? What is it that changed? I want to have a better understanding of all of this. It eats away at my mind half the time.
Do you think then that there are more, or let me put it this way, do you think then that you're almost like a lost soul?
Oh, no, not at all. I think a lost soul would be someone who's stuck in the usual humdrum of life where they don't question anything. That, to me, is a lost soul. I am more so, in my perspective at least, a soul that is determined to have a better understanding of what has happened and where it's going.
Are you comfortable with that?
Oh, definitely. I think it makes life funner.
I think a lot of listeners, though, may question how you're so positive about it, though.
What your listeners need to have, as far as their understanding is concerned, is the vibration you choose to allow into your body is going to determine so much about their life. It's going to determine what they can draw in, how their body ages, how their body reacts to healing. Yeah, I am a pretty positive person considering a lot of the things that have happened to me. But I would rather look at how things can be turned into a positive or at least a good learning experience than allow for one experience or even 10 experiences to hold me down and ruin my life. It would take a lot more than that to change my vibrational frequency. And if you hold on to that anger does things like anger will weaken your liver, and grief can weaken your lungs, things of that nature. These intense emotions that we hold on to affect our energy, our emotional body affects our energy body, and our energy body affects our physical body. So it's not worth holding on to these emotions that aren't beneficial for us. That's my understanding of it.
Samantha, we got about a minute left. I would love it if you told people how they can get in touch with you, maybe pick up a reading.
Perfect. So, as Dave has mentioned several times, my website is www.samanthamowat.ca. If you like, I'm starting within the next week to be releasing YouTube videos on extraterrestrial contact. At this time, I currently only have videos regarding what it is I've agreed to do in this incarnation, what the different types of psychic abilities are, and how they correlate to contact with extraterrestrial multidimensional beings and those on the different dimensional frequencies and things of that nature. And yeah, or you can always give me a call at 1-604-621-1419. I'm available for Skype. I love doing readings, but if you just want to chat about extraterrestrials, that's fine too. Please feel free to contact me.
Samantha, thank you once again. I think it's been another incredible extension of the ET experience with you, and we will do it all again on July 12th, the second Tuesday of every month.
Yay!
We'll do it again, for sure. And on that note, we throw Mr. Bumblefoot on as we are closing out tonight's Spaced Out Radio with Samantha Mowat as one of our monthly contributors. Tomorrow night on the show, Rob Morphy will join us. We'll be talking cryptids. Samantha's so energetic and knowledgeable when it comes to the ET experience. She is someone who is brilliant. I can't say enough good words about her, to be absolutely honest with you. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show. Subscribe to that, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. I want to thank everyone listening in on the SHR Media Network, over on Paranormal Forum, on the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. Nessa, thank you for being a first-time listener tonight. Glad you found our show. Don't forget, you can also follow us on Facebook, Euphoria Chronicles, Forest Moon Paranormal, and our flagship, SOR Space Travelers. We do this show 3 hours a night, 7 days a week. I will be back tomorrow night, and I hope you are too. We'll talk to you in exactly 21 hours from now, and we will let Mr. Bumblefoot, Ron THAL, rock us right out of this world until we get back here tomorrow night. Have a good one. See you later.
I know you're out there somewhere. 1,000 eyes are waiting for you to break. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watched you